Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Committee of Adjustment hearing for July 14th, 2022. Thank you.
Way. There we go. That's good. Thank you.
But I can't do
It goes.
it. All right.
Yep, I just know.
Okay. Got car. Okay. So it's just Harvard's.
Oh, what did we not get?
Hey, Bob.
Hi.
That looks frightening. Not you, Matt, the room. Maria always looks good.
Okay, Mr. Chair, it is 1:10. Our first item is at 1:15. Would you like to proceed with roll call, et cetera?
Okay, roll call for the record. Tom? Here. Bob?
Here.
Mark?
Here virtually.
David? Here. Mel? Here. Laverne? Here. Nancy?
I'm here.
Margaret? Here. And myself, Dale. Are there any members with a conflict of interest today? Seeing and hearing none. We have two members on the WebEx meeting, Bob and Mark. This is our first meeting of actually being here at City Hall.
And just a reminder for the committee members, when you are speaking, please ensure that you mute and unmute yourselves as appropriate so that
Hello.
everyone is able to hear you.
Mr. Chair, I might have a conflict of interest on South Coke Road, Ancaster. Okay.
So at that time, the usual procedure is to leave the room. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Chair, just before the meeting actually starts, I did just want to mention that today is Martha's last day with the committee. And we are very grateful for her many years of service. I won't mention exactly how many, but I did just want
We
to
go by
mention that.
decades, not years. Decades.
I will not mention how much time. But her time with us has been greatly appreciated, for sure.
Let me get up and move before.
Yeah, just, what to do with myself? I'll find something, I'm sure I'll find something.
All right, and we are all set for the first item. So we're hearing SCB 2260 for roadway Stony Creek. We have the agent registered to speak, as well as Councillor Pearson, and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent present?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My name is Andrea Patterson. I'm a land use planner at Denton's Canada LLP. We act for the Canadian National Railway Company, and the purpose of this application is to allow for a parcel approximately 0.3 hectares in size to be severed from CN's rail holding to the adjacent parcel that's municipally known as 333 Arvin Avenue. This subject parcel has been identified as surplus to CN's needs, and the severance won't affect the continued activity on the existing rail corridor use. Both the subject parcel and the recipient lands have the same zoning, the same official plan designation. And as per the staff comments, there are no objections to the proposed severance. I would, however, like to speak to a few of the conditions.
Okay, would you like to hear from the councillor first?
Certainly.
Okay, Maria?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Andrea, for the overview. My reason for chiming in today was I had no idea there was a roadway in my ward, and I didn't know what the context of the application was about. So I am absolutely in support of this, and certainly will listen intently on what your concerns of the conditions are. I'm very supportive, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So there was a condition you wanted to talk about?
Yes, sir, and thank you very much, Councillor Pearson. To tell you the truth, I wasn't aware of the roadway address either, and looking at it, it clearly is not an active roadway. So, yeah, and it truly is just to sever lands from the rail corridor holding that have been deemed to be surplus and add them onto the adjacent lands. So, I guess just in reviewing the conditions, condition number 3. We would ask that one be deleted because there is no new lot being created. And so just for clarity, we're making that request. And then the other two, conditions 4 and 6, I understand the official plan provision that requires conformity for the retained lands and severed lands to comply with the existing zoning. But I think in this case, given that the retained lands are the entire CN rail corridor, and given that this is a lot addition, and given that the subject lands that are being severed, that they're vacant, there really are no zoning compliance issues here. And so conditions 4 and 6 are irrelevant. And I would just ask for your consideration in removing those conditions, given the specific circumstances of this particular property owner and the nature of the lands that are being considered here.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions and concerns with these conditions to be removed?
No, it makes perfect sense to me, so I'm fine with making a motion with those conditions removed.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
So for the next item, the agent or owner of the property can come forward, and there are 2 chairs, so 2 interested parties are able to come forward for those in the room, and we will call the others in cycle as we go through. Thank you.
Well, while we're doing that, I have a question.
Sorry, Thomas, if your question's related to the file, we'll just need to wait until we.
Well, it's really has to do with the meaning of what's put in here. And
Oh, no, we have to wait first.
if I can find it now. No, there's it's to, oh, damn. I can't find it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we're all
Oh,
set to
yes,
call the next item if you're
It
ready.
says that it should be in keeping with the Canco residence
Sorry.
drawing package. Oh, sorry, okay.
You just need to mute yourself, thank you. All right, so we are now hearing ANA 22-180 for 64 Lovers Lane in Ancaster. We have the agent and several interested parties registered to speak, and that's all.
Okay.
That's my question.
No, not yet, Tom. Is, the agent is present here at the table, probably? Yes? And you had a chance to read the comments?
For those who are speaking at the table, you'll need to mute and unmute yourselves with the microphone. There'll be a picture of a person speaking.
Yeah.
So please remain muted when you're not speaking.
Sorry, Red's muted, or no, I guess not. Nick Miskovic?
Okay.
Sorry.
You had a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And I see the recommendation is denial from planning. I was just wondering if you would like to table it at this time, or would you like to have it heard?
Well, we would like to have a discussion before we decide to table it, because we had agreement within the community, but things changed overnight.
Okay. This really isn't the venue for that discussion part of it. We hear the hearings and we hear from planning, but if, because it's time sensitive, we have a large agenda for today. So, you know, if you'd like to have it tabled, then, you know, we would make a motion to table, and then your discussions should be with planning or with the neighbors before.
Yeah, well, no, sure, I would, but we would also like to put it in record that everything was approved previously by the city. We set all the variances back. We've took some of the variances out, and now it's been denied. So we're a little confused.
Okay,
Well, not little, a lot confused.
okay. Nancy?
I just want to make sure I understood the statement was you wanted to defer it, or you needed to have a discussion with the other parties before you decided that?
So we had agreement as of Friday night with the whole neighborhood. They sent their letters in as of Monday. We sent the revised drawings to Paul Brody, which I guess he's absent or away. We done everything part of our deal that was said and done. For most part, all the neighbors agreed. I guess there was some issues coming up today or yesterday that we found out that some people that were all in agreement. It was all supposed to be one letter if we take certain variances and cut things back further. So we revised all the drawings, did all the work, got everything set up and came ready to make a deal. And then as of this morning, I guess there's opposition.
Thomas?
There is still one objection from development engineering as well. They recommended it be denied. I don't know if you saw that.
Sorry, which comment's that?
The last, page 7 of 7 of the comments, development engineering, they basically say that the backyard is too small from the point of view of drainage and amenity area. The lot grading policy requires the backyard to be larger. That's what they're saying.
Yes, I also been trying to get in contact with everybody at the city. The neighboring property, and the issue with drainage is that the ditch stops about 10 feet ahead of our property where the culvert is. So I understand their issue might be just with sizes. There's a big city issue that they haven't dealt with for some time because the ditch itself doesn't continue to Lover's Lane. It stops on Thornwood about 10 feet from the property.
Okay, so
I'm not
mean-
sure that that's their concern.
Okay, Thomas, we're getting into a discussion part, and that's not where I want to go right now. So if you wish to have it tabled, we can have it tabled.
Yeah, if we could get a table for the 28th, we're ready to go. I
Okay.
mean, we have to bring the
Whatever's
planner on board
available.
now.
Okay, so if it's tabled until the 28th, it will be heard at 1:10 on the 28th. No
Perfect.
further notice will be provided. All interested parties here will have, be registered to speak at the following hearing. To the owner, if you, or agent, if you wish to request revised comments from staff, you will have to contact staff. Committee of Adjustment will not be circulating any further notice.
So a quick note, Brody Paul was my contact for the planning department of it, and the email bounces 2720. They transfer me to committee saying it's just a committee issue to deal with. So
Yeah.
is there like a direct contact somebody can send me, or?
So I'm not sure what you're trying to figure out. So Brody is with the zoning group. He's not with the planning group. So planning group
Okay,
wrote a recommendation.
so who do I contact at the planning group?
Yeah, so if you send an email to cofA@hamilton.ca,
Okay.
we'll be able to provide you with their contact information.
Okay, or I can go to the 5th floor, right?
You can, there's currently
Yeah,
no
well, I'm
one
gonna
there
deal
right
with
now.
it right now, just make sure it's done, because we're not getting responses. Nobody's there?
We're all here.
Okay,
All right, I need a
Thank you.
motion for table. Mel, seconded by Nancy. All in favor of tabling? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is passed for tabling. Okay,
thank you.
hearing's over.
So we're now hearing ANA 22181 for 162 Fallingbrook Road in Ancaster. We have the owner registered to speak and several interested parties.
Yes, Jason Reese.
We'll get used to this. The owner is present today at the table. Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, I have.
And do you have any questions or concerns?
No, sir.
Okay, committee, any questions? Moved by Laverne, seconded. Oh,
We have interested parties
oh,
registered to
sorry.
speak. So we have Bob Batten registered to speak virtually. If you could please unmute yourself. Oh, you're still muted, sir.
Nope.
No, you're still muted. You'll need to, there you go.
Is it coming through now? Okay, thanks. Thanks. I'm Bob Mayton, through the chair, president of the Ancaster Village Heritage Community. Registering an objection to this height variance today at 162 Fallingbrook Drive. We're very concerned about the height. Not only does it exceed the 9.5 meter maximum height required by regulation, but this house sits on a small hill above the street. The height of the new development, as seen from street level, will be 13.48 meters. It will inappropriately tower over the surrounding neighborhood. The Monster Home Bylaw Amendment brought in by City Council and approved by the LPAT in July 2019 board approved maximum heights in Ancaster from 10.5 meters to 9.5 meters. This is after 4 years of public outcry against developments in Ancaster that violate their neighborhood context with massive heights and footprints. Ironically, the headline in the Spectator at the time said about the new limits, at the time said, no fears of more monster homes in Ancaster. Councillor Lloyd Ferguson said about the new limits, I'm thrilled, it's long overdue. The community is 100% on side. They've been waiting for this for years. The application before you is one of those monster buildings, and it should be limited to the height regulations brought in only 3 years ago. This return to the previous height limit of 10.5 meters is a serious issue. Not only does the height violate the regulations, but it is completely at odds with the neighboring homes surrounding this property, which are one-story homes and two-story split levels. Approving it will set a precedent that no doubt will lead to the overturning of the council and LPAT-approved height limit in Ancaster. And there's no good reason for exceeding the height limit. The building does not need this added height. A neighbor whose lot backs onto this property in the back on Crestview tells me he received his notice of public hearing for Committee of Adjustment only on July 5th. He also says he has not received a notice of public hearing for the Planning Committee regarding this development and has not had an opportunity to respond to the development as a whole. I'd appreciate clarification whether the Planning Act requirements have been met for posting to nearby residents. If not, it would appear that the process of vetting this development for approval would need to begin afresh. And those are my comments today. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I can speak to the notice requirements under the Planning Act for minor variance. I cannot speak to notice requirements under the Planning Act for Planning Committee applications, but the notice requirements for the minor variance were met in accordance with the Planning Act. They are different from zoning bylaw amendments and other Planning Act applications.
Okay. Do we have any other citizens?
Yes, we have Jason Reese, who registered to speak as well in person. Oh, so you're the agent? Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Jason's the owner, I'm the agent.
You just have to unmute yourself.
I guess the only additional comment, the reason that we are requesting for this height variance of 1 meter is really due to a site consideration. The way average grade is calculated is obviously it's an average around the entire building. The way this lot sits is the garage is quite a bit lower than the rest of the house. It skews the average grade. So when you view the house from the street, from the frontage, it won't appear to be a bigger building. I believe we are, I mean, again, the requirement for this variance only came about because of the way that average grade is calculated.
Okay. Anyone else?
No other interested parties, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, committee, have any questions? Thomas?
The objector was saying, because of the fact that it's on a hill, it's really 13 meters, and I'm wondering officially, how is it measured? Where's the height measured from? Street level or foundation level or what? I mean, I'm just concerned as to whether there's some genuine concern about the 13 as opposed to 10.5.
Okay. Is there someone from planning that could?
Can I make a comment, sir? So what happened is originally we wanted to put the garage on the main floor, right, and just have a level home. And I think then if you look from the front door perspective, we would have been well within the height, and we wouldn't have needed a variance. But the rule, I guess, the city bylaws, you can't have your grade of your driveway more than 7%, and it currently sits at 12%. And if we would have had to put the garage on the main floor, which is what I wanted, to be honest with you, I would have almost raised the driveway even more to like 16%. So we knew there was no way to that would be passed, to be honest. So I didn't really want it. I own the property at this point. This house is pretty decrepit, needs to be replaced. It hasn't been maintained in 30 years, so we know we have to do something about it. So we designed the house. They spent extra money. and we designed the house so the garage is in the basement, okay? So it's to lower that, to meet that 7%. We also didn't want to put retaining walls around the property. We love the property, we love the trees, and we want to maintain that same elevation for our neighbors. So we redesigned the house to have the garage into the basement. I'm not overly happy with that. It's a different design. But then when you average the height, that required us now to require a variance because it's not from the front door. It's from my understanding, and I mean, you could go back to planning. So we were trying to maintain the elevation for our neighbors.
Okay. So I guess the question that Thomas had, the elevation, is it measured from the street or is it measured from the actual property where it rises? Is there any comments from planning on that?
So we do have planning staff who are registered to speak. Oh, there we go. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Charlie Toman, Senior Project Manager in Development Planning. It's a zoning staff that make the determination of how building height is measured based on the zoning bylaw in effect, but my general understanding that it is on the average grade, so it's not the highest point of the foundation or the lowest point. But zoning staff would have to confirm exactly how it is measured, like how that math works.
I have a question.
So
do any of the actual neighbors on either side or across have any issues?
No.
They're not here.
No.
No, they haven't had any issues.
You have to make sure that you're.
I tried to get it to read. Oh, there you go. No, the neighbors on either side do not have any issues, and I've talked to them, and they're pretty happy we're doing something about the house.
Nancy?
Thank you, Mark, for bringing that up. I know that the lot is on a slightly kind of a bendy part right there, so the setback from the street is probably a little deeper than some. And I think whether the 1 meter or not was there, the roof peak is really just a roof peak for aesthetic reasons. So I'm actually okay with this, and I'm prepared to make a motion for approval.
I second it.
Yeah, just to note that from my past experience, we always measure for as long as I can remember the middle, not from the back, not from the bottom. It's always been an average in there. So I'm very
Mark seconded.
I'll third it.
If there's no more discussion, I'll accept the motion from Nancy and seconded from Mark. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we will now hear GLA 22187 for 102 Spalding Drive in Glanbrook. We have the owners registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the owner available?
Yes.
Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, I did.
I see the recommendation is denial. Would you like to table it and have a discussion with planning and see if you can get a little more favorable comments, or?
I'm not too familiar with how this works, but I have no objections from any of my neighbors with this construction of a garage in the back property. The lots in that area are quite large. I can meet a lot of the requirements for the building structure. I'm not sure like what direction I would need to take this. Like, this is the first time I've ever done this, so I'm looking for advice or like.
Okay. So well, we got 3 variances, and all 3 variances are recommended for denial from planning, and I guess it's the size of the lots do matter, but if the committee wants to comment on this, it seems like at least 2 of the variances, the requirements are double what you're asking than what's allowed. So what we can do, and I'll allow the committee to ask some questions too, but what we can do is we can table it And that way you can maybe meet with planning again and see if you can make the structure a little smaller or move it a little bit and see if you can get a little closer to what's allowed. It won't, maybe I should make the comment, but if we table it, it doesn't cost you more money because you don't have to make another application.
It would just be the recirculation fee to come back to the committee.
Okay, so there's a recirculation fee, but at least your application won't be voted on and denied, and then you have to reapply. David?
I think what we're trying to say is that on these variances, I think number 3 is probably your standout of 8 meters.
Yep.
Is there room to move on that? Can you go back and say, can we go to 6, or is there somewhere that we can just adjust a little bit as opposed to double, as we're trying to get at?
I am willing to move. One of the reasons why I did go with the extra height was to lower the square footage, the actual coverage on the property. One of the reasons why I had this structure designed is I took various pictures of different outbuildings from the neighborhood, and I took them to the architect and said, can you help me make something that kind of would fit with the other ones around the neighborhood, square footage wise and height wise and stuff like that. So I'm not opposed to doing a redesign and working. I just don't know what's the dimensions and requirements set out in the bylaw are, in my opinion, extremely small, and that's why I'm going for a structure this size. It's the bylaws don't meet my storage needs.
Committee have any other comments for the applicant? Yeah. Laverne?
Yes, I think we should let the applicant know why we would suggest that we're even considering asking him to table this or looking at tabling this thing. And in doing a site visit, we're asking for a detached building from the original house. And the first thing that stares at us is the size of the building and the height. And the height, it's going to over tower the home. And one of the things that is often mentioned, we don't want a house to look subordinate to the garage. The other thing that I noticed when I drove by your place, other than the new Crestliner boot in the driveway.
Avid fisherman.
There's already a garage there just over from the house. And beside that, there's another outbuilding. And then behind the garage, there's another outbuilding. And I think that if you're thinking, considering tabling it, we have to get rid of some of this because we can't have that on top of an 81 square meter building. And if, from what you just said, you made the building this certain footprint and built it higher, what, so you could put some storage or living quarters above the main floor of the building?
I have no interest in living quarters. The reason why it was for storage was to have a storage loft because I would like to remove both of those sheds from my property. And that's why I was trying to make everything into one instead of having the 2 small sheds and the current garage. The future plan is to put small addition on the house. So that garage with the breezeway would be eventually removed down the road.
But a building, a garage of that size, you will need to increase the setback at the back of the building, according to the bylaws. And right now, I think we're at 2 meters. And it's not going to happen if you only have a 2 meter setback. So I think there's a few things that need to be talked about. And I think it would serve you well to take it back to the planning people and talk about it and downsize this thing somewhat and let us all know what the intentions are in the end, if there's buildings to be removed or a garage to be removed. I couldn't find any of that in the correspondence that I have, and I think those are all things that should be considered. I'm not trying to be just negative. However, I do think there's a few things to be cleaned up here. Thank you.
Okay,
No,
thanks.
I greatly appreciate your time, and I would like the opportunity to table it and go back and try to do a redesign and try to meet some of the requirements that you guys are asking.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Motion for table?
You're here.
Okay, Nancy, seconded by Mel.
Sorry, I think you just have to speak a little closer. We'll give you it. So that was a motion by Nancy and seconded by Mel?
Yes.
Thank you.
All in favor? Opposed?
Here.
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application tabled.
Who do I speak to, or where do I go to start this process?
So you can send an email to cofA@hamilton.ca and we can provide you with the planning contacts and you can speak with them.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate your time.
Okay, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing ANA 22195 for 59 Norma Crescent in Ancaster. We have the owners registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the owner available?
I am available. It's Robert Sutton.
Yes, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
I did, thank you.
And do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Committee, have any questions on this application? Okay, moved by Laverne, seconded by Nancy. All in favor? Opposed? If
Here.
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
All right, and we're all set for the next file. So we are hearing HMA 22202 for 750 to 790 Mohawk Road West in Hamilton. We have the agents registered to speak and several interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, good afternoon, members of the committee. Matt Johnston, a registered professional planner with Urban Solutions.
Yes, did you have a chance, Matt, to read the comments that were posted?
I have, and I do have a brief presentation. It may be beneficial to hear from some of the interested parties that I might be able to respond more directly to, but we are satisfied with the staff report and I can elaborate on how we wound up here in the first place. I'm in the committee's hands as to the order that we proceed.
Okay, interested parties?
Yep. So we have Mary Colby registered to speak virtually. If you are calling in by phone, you'll just need to press *6 or *9.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Shall I begin?
Yes, you were asked to speak.
Okay. Yes, good afternoon. My name is Mary Colby. I'm a resident of 790 Mohawk Road West, which is a dwelling named in the application 22202. First, just to clarify, the subject property on the notice of public hearing is only stated as 750 Mohawk, but I do believe the application applies to 5 addresses, 750, 760, 770, which is non-residential, 780, and 790. That's correct, eh?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. My first concern is the lack of notification of these changes to the many residences that are directly affected. There was only one sign I saw posted in a spot that, at a generous estimate, 10% of residents would see. I'm asking for the decision regarding this application to be postponed until a reasonable notice can be put up that a reasonable number of residents would be able to see and comment if they want it. The reason I emphasize this point is because in Urban Solutions application letter, under number 1 of the 4, I guess you'd say justification questions, are the proposed minor variants minor in nature? Urban Solutions answered, in part, all required variances do not generate adverse impacts. This is not true. Item 2 of the 5 variance requests asked to change the tenant parking ratio from 125 spots per 100 units to either 74 spots or 80 spots per 100 units. There's actually 2 different numbers, one in the application letter and one in the text of the public notice. One is 74 and one is 80 per 100 units. Either way, lowering the parking ratio, especially to one that allows for only 80% of dwelling units to have a parking spot without providing reasonable alternative parking, is just untenable. There is 0 street parking nearby. The overflow parking available to tenants was built behind 750, the most eastern building in the row. If tenants in other apartments cannot find parking, generally if they arrive home after 5 p.m., they can park behind 750. Well, for me, that's over 2 city blocks distance to walk. And because it's late, it's dark. The lot itself is an uneven, it's actually hilly gravel lot, which is just unusable by many tenants who aren't steady on their feet. And there's a lot, at least in my building. Regarding moving along to item 3 on the application, it's asking to reduce the ratio of visitor parking spots from 25 per 100 dwelling units to 0. Some tenants in my building that I know directly need home care, either from a family member or an agency like the VON. They get Meals on Wheels, they get groceries, they get pharmaceuticals delivered. There has to be at least some designated visitor spots at each address. The variances requested are not at all, in my opinion, minor in impact to tenants who are taxpayers. And also, through the application and in the comments from staff, the word temporary is used to justify the negative impact a lot. But this is a years-long project. It's not a few days. Temporary is very subjective. Tenants, many of whom pay for parking, yet are not guaranteed a spot, are even fined $55 if we're parked on our own property, but not in an allowable spot. So what I'm doing is requesting a postponement of the decision regarding application 22-202, or at least items 2 and 3 regarding the parking ratios, until the impacted residents, which is most of them, have a chance to see the notice, comment, and perhaps to give Urban Solutions a chance to seek, I guess, an urban solution to the parking that would provide at least a 1-to-1 ratio of spots to units. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
We have Mr. Slack registered to speak. I believe you're in person. Please proceed to the table and mute and unmute yourself as appropriate.
If you don't mind.
No, sorry, if you can sit at the end, thank you. Okay, can you please state your name for the record? Please mute and unmute yourself. So on the stand there's a button with a person speaking. You can just hit that.
There we go. Thank you.
Please state your name for the record.
Philip Slack, S-L-A-C-K.
Thank you.
Your questions or concerns?
Yes. I'm a resident of 60 Rice Avenue. It's a seniors condo complex, townhouse complex. I live in unit 15, and my wife and I have been residents there for 6 years. I recently have elected to the board of directors. I haven't been to the first meeting yet, but I'm not here as a board member. I'm here as a resident of that place. Our condo on Rice Avenue consists of 41 units, and they move from the entrance in Rice Avenue right across, and they end in the backyard, basically, of 750 Mohawk Road West. There is 41 units, and 14 of the units 1 through to 14, border on to the 750 property, as well as the Effort Trust townhouse complexes, and I'm not sure how they are related. They border on to the east side of 750. So those whole 14 units along there back onto that property, as well as a roadway that is a court that it ends at the fenceway at the most northerly portion of the boundary of 750. And the last unit on there is my unit, which is the end of the street there that backs onto the park. Well, it was a park, backs onto the property anyways of 750. Prior to the excavation and that, there was a large, I call it a parquet. It was all sodded and grass area that filled in most of that area behind 750. And it was used for as a play area, and kids played ball in there, mostly from the townhouses there at Effort Trust. In any event, I had no idea this was happening. We weren't notified about anything. The first notification we got was the one that brought us here today. There was supposed to be another person with me today. He had some health issues and couldn't make it. It brought to our attention a couple of months ago, suddenly backhoes and dump trucks started appearing in the park behind us and digging stuff up and putting soil down and moving all kinds of things around. Eventually, they had an entire parking lot built out of crushed stone. They had to change gradings in places. It graded down toward the townhouses, and they had to put a bit of a road down to that, because before it was a parquet and they didn't need roads or anything in there. They did have a portion of their rear area with a cement regular parking lot. We were all wondering what this is going on in there, what they're digging up, what's doing, and eventually they built themselves a number of different area parking lots for these traffic that came in here. And it's a stone areas. It's just crushed stone been put on there. I don't know how much grass lawn, soil was removed. I don't know where they've done any digging. We've went over there and looked around. There's no new sewers or catch basins that we can see anywhere. They said it's majority all gravel in that one area, and it's not necessarily as smooth like a paved area going. I don't know how this winter that plows are going to go in there, and how these people are going to get up and out of these areas where they've got to go. And I have pictures here. I don't know if any of them got sent off to you.
So only the comments that were circulated are able to be presented. You cannot present physical materials because not everybody.
I can leave some pictures here.
Yeah, if you want to leave them, they won't be entered into the record though, because the people who are participating virtually can't see them.
Sorry, what was that?
So you can't leave them, like you can leave them if you want, but they won't be entered into the record because they won't be able to be viewed by all those who are attending the public meeting, which includes those who are attending virtually.
Oh, so you can't consider what you see of these pictures?
No. So only the ones that were submitted through written comments that were submitted and were posted on the comments package.
Okay. I think the other person did submit some pictures, so they're basically the same then. Yeah, so during the past few months, as I said, this construction, and we really weren't bothered about the noise. It wasn't going to be last long. The biggest problem we've run into there is the lack of communication and knowledge of what was happening behind us. And most importantly, how is this going to affect our grading? That area, if you happen to have driven up Rice Avenue between Scenic Drive and Mohawk, you would see there's quite a hill goes up there. Well, that same whole hill and the drainage contour, there is a very sharp drop in grading coming from Mohawk Road down through into 60 Rice Avenue. When it was built, it was well graded, obviously. It had catch basins in the right places on a 60 Rice property. And we've really had no problem in 6 years since we've been there. And I probably have and in those pictures you will see them, very steep. When at the back of 750, there's a long wooden fence runs the entire property of 60 Rice Avenue, the 14 units, the roadway, and my property. And at the end, the only grass that's left that I can see through there now that has been left is there's about a 10-meter patch of grass at the closest area. They brought the parking lots, several parking lots, gravel parking lots, and they come right up and they line behind my fence 10 meters back. And that green grass is along there and it runs the entire length of that property. We're hoping that somebody, since there's no space there other than all the cars are putting in there, somebody is not planning on whatever they do with snow removal, to dump it along that up against the fences or near the fences. And I don't think they can come too much farther. I think there were some restrictions as to how far they could make that the property. So that raises a great concern for us as to what grading has been affected by all this digging and building their parking lots. And I know they've increased the grading up the back of the apartment building that goes down into the townhouses, because that was all part of just a parquet up there. And it's concerning not seeing any catch basins in these parking lots. And so that's a big concern to us. Now, aside from the loss of the play area for the children, our greatest concern is dealing with the removal of the grass, the grade changes along the roadways, and the large areas of various crushed stone parking lots there that have they affected the pre-existing grading that took place in that parquet area that was behind the apartment building. I've explained to you about the steep grading, and I hope those other pictures got to you, because it's probably a grading of my back fence. By the time it gets down to my patio, it's probably dropped 8 to 10 feet. I would imagine it's a very steep slope that comes down and then it levels out just before our house, catch basin there. The roadway is the same thing when it comes down through there, and it comes down and runs down a roadway. We got good grading going south or going north. But what has changed since that point? And that's what our biggest concern is.
If I can interrupt you just for one moment, David, did you have something?
Well, I'm just trying to relate everything directly to
David, you need to speak to the microphone. Thank you.
I'm just hoping that you could direct it exactly to what you need to. What I'm trying to say is that we're talking about snow removal and stuff like that. I don't think is really relevant to us and hearing and all this.
Speak a little louder. Clear.
The little stuff like snow removal and stuff like that. I mean, if you can direct your comments to exactly the application.
Okay, yeah, by all means. The one biggest thing we're concerned about, number one, nowhere in this information it says it's a temporary project. Is this a 6-month project, a 1-year project, a 2-year project? How many winters are we going to be going through? That is significant to find out what's there. I wouldn't even be here if this was going to be done by December. But I'm suggesting with 4 apartment buildings along there, and I've seen all the cement torn out or taken out from the undergrounds or somewhere on one of the apartment buildings. There's a huge, large rock pile.
And I think maybe when the agent does his presentation, he may answer a lot of these questions.
And that would be wonderful.
So maybe we should hear, are there any other citizens? Maybe if Matt, if you want to do your presentation, that might answer a lot of questions.
One suggestion, which is our main one, you know, we're recommending that because the drainage portion of this is our greatest concern, and we're wanting to know what happens with the snow accumulation and melt. And we would recommend that due to the loss of much of the grass and soil area up there, the additional grade changes, and to us, any knowledge of the catch basins, that the snow removal contracts require, or should require, that removal of snow from the property and not storage of it on site. There are some places that you just can't store it on site and it has to be removed after every major snowfall. And we don't want to see or have to deal with large snow piles of snow coming down that drainage corridor.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Matt, back to you.
Certainly. Good afternoon again, and thank you for the good questions. And I think I can provide, like I said, a little bit of clarity in terms of how we wound up in this situation, and that will also address some of the comments made. So I will start sharing my screen. Oh, I just turned off my video. Here we go. I think you can all see that now.
Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. So again, as we've heard, I'm here on behalf of Effort Trust this afternoon, and the subject lands include a number of 4 buildings in total, many of which are reaching a life in the vintage of the building where major structural repairs are required for the underground parking. So as a result of a building department inspection that led to the need to close the underground parking to initiate the repair, we then embarked on a pretty significant amount of dialogue with the City of Hamilton to set a path forward to address this. And it's actually a scenario that we're going to start seeing a whole lot more of, because like I said, it's not a lack of maintenance. It's just the vintage of these buildings require this major significant overhaul, where they're going to temporarily close the structured parking. The area where the temporary parking is located is between the 2 triangular shaped towers. And ever since they've been closed, we've had a real significant parking issue within the community. We've been working closely with Councillor Whitehead in efforts to help manage the issue. I've got a quick highlight on the OP designation, not entirely relevant, but what is relevant is the existing zoning from that old Hamilton zoning bylaw is one of those zones that only permits the use as it exists in the approved plan. So the configuration of the parking and the 4 towers are the only permitted use within their configuration. So there is no way for us to introduce parking on a temporary basis in a way that satisfies the bylaw. So as soon as we create that need, we're automatically into a minor variance scenario. We then embarked on a site plan approval process where we have stormwater management, site servicing and grading plans that are all being reviewed and approved by municipal staff. We're more than halfway through that process, and I can confirm that what the previous speaker has been seeing is some real immediate temporary relief parking that is just gravel. But the variances, the real temporary parking lot that's triggering this application will be paved. It will have catch basins. It does include a tree protection plan. it does require the approval of all those engineering drawings to ensure stormwater management and whatnot are not adversely affected. And then it also includes a very significant security deposit, a letter of credit as it's formally known, to require Effort Trust to repair these lands to the natural state once the work is complete. Here's a more detailed portion from the site plan application. There's your file number 22044. And it's these variances were identified through that site plan process. And again, that site plan process includes all the normal things that you'd expect in terms of the tree protection plans, landscape plans, stormwater management, site servicing, grading, with the inclusion of asphalt parking with catch basins. So all of which has been well coordinated with city staff, hence the positive staff report. So I hope the approvals of those specific engineering drawings provide some relief. The significant security deposit that the lands be restored provides some relief to concerned residents. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Yes. Questions from the committee or questions from interested parties? I'm just wondering if you could just address the parking ratio situation.
Certainly. So the parking ratio is a reduction. It's probably larger than a reduction that you would approve if this was a new build and a permanent scenario. But it's, in a more practical sense, the parking that we're able to provide and the resulting ratio. So, we appreciate that it's a temporary inconvenience for residents, not only residents of the building, but residents in the community. There's notable on-street parking issues on the south side of Mohawk, closer to Sir Allan MacNab High School. So this is causing a disruption, and the last thing Effort Trust wants to do is be part of that disruption. And the path that we've set forward to ease that pain and move through as quickly as we can is the site plan process, solidifying the required variances with a security deposit to restore things to their natural state. So again, it's our parking reduction more than we would apply for on a permanent basis, but one that just represents what can be accommodated on the interim scenario.
And in the interim, where will the people park who do not have a parking spot? I mean, temporary in this case is not a few days. Temporary in this case, it's been a year. So, and I expect, and my lot hasn't even been demolished yet. So I expect this is a several years project. So temporary, I suppose, in the terms of looking at a 10-year span, but temporary is over several years of not having parking. When you actually, many pay for it, but that's not yours. Anyway, temporary is so open-ended. Is there not an estimated finish date on this construction plan?
So it's through the chair. It's about a 3-year plan that we're talking about, and essentially, not all of the existing parking spaces are closed. The idea would be that that those disrupted would be temporarily allocated to the temporary lot and moving in a sort of coordinated fashion through the different phases of the reconstruction. Again, it's a 3-year plan. In terms of the real specifics about tenant parking arrangements, what I could assure the committee is that I can take that back to Effort Trust and we could, I need to leave it in their hands to really deal with the communication strategy, but I can certainly stress that that's a key take home about how this is all communicated.
May I add that it has been brought to the attention of Effort Trust and no solution has been found. There is a full parking plaza across the street that is empty between 10 p.m. and the morning, and we're forbidden from parking also owned by Effort Trust, and there is 0 street parking. The parking on the street one over, you say south of Mohawk, that's Wendover, that is crowded because the Wendover parking lot has also been demolished, and those people have lost their spots. Those are the people on Wendover. The people on all of in the 4 Mohawk Road buildings impacted, we have no street parking available at all whatsoever. So there has to be somewhere for us to park. It is just untenable to be scared to come home after dark, risking tickets or towing and not having a place to park when I personally and many pay a monthly fee to park. So I really think that by taking away so many parking spots from people, you have to replace them.
And through the chair, I appreciate the frustration, and that is what we're trying to do. Perhaps some of the communication issues that you're experiencing may be in fact that until we have approvals like this one in place, Effort Trust can't formally communicate a solid plan until we get through these hurdles. So what we'd like to do is secure approval of the minor variance today. That will allow for quick closure of the site plan application process. And then we have an approved plan, one that we can actually communicate. Because right now, that may be part of the reason for some of the communication frustrations is that without approvals in place, we can't quite communicate with confidence and certainty.
The communication issue that I have is that it wasn't communicated. This application for variant was not communicated properly. And I think that step should be taken before this is approved. It doesn't make sense to say you can only communicate after it's approved. I'm talking about communication on the application for variance was not given properly.
Okay, thank you for your comments, and I know, Matt, you've addressed a lot of these concerns, and, you know, it creates issues, but this is a temporary situation until you can get things finalized, and I can understand where you're coming from, and also from the questions.
Three-year temporary.
Sorry, the chairman is talking. Everybody should be remain muted.
But it is 3 years. I just want to stress that.
So does the committee have any questions at this time? Thomas?
As I understand the situation, it seems to me if the owner is to comply with the bylaw on parking, the only way to do that is shut down a bunch of apartments, get rid of the people, get rid of the cars, and you don't have a problem. That doesn't seem to be a viable solution, given all we hear about the need for housing, et cetera, et cetera. Not fixing the parking lots, the parking garages is certainly not an option for the same reason. You can't have you can't restore the parking, you have to get rid of people in the building. So it's one of those things that's an evil necessity. 3 years is a long time, but the only other solution to the problem is cutting down the number of people in the apartments so that only the outdoor parking is available, and that, as I say, doesn't seem to be a viable solution.
That is not true. There is another viable solution.
And what is that?
Sorry, so the speakers who are interested parties must remain muted. If you do not remain muted while the committee members are speaking, you will be expelled from the meeting.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Don't worry about it.
All right. You can have all the meetings in the world, but the bottom line is you've got necessity to deal with, and the only way to deal with it, as I understand it, is the situation that's being proposed.
Okay, anyone else with comments or questions?
Am I allowed to speak? Yes.
No, not at this time.
No, I have already said you will be expelled the next time you speak. Thank you, Nancy. We have questions from Nancy.
Questions and comments? Thank you, Matt, for the good presentation there. It did open up some things. I've seen other buildings go through this, particularly in the east end down by Queenston Road. I don't know if they were Effort Trust buildings, but there was a serious issue there. Those tenants were also displaced for some time, and I understand not the best situation, but the variances before us are what they are, and staff has approved them. And I'd, once anyone else has given a comment, I trust based on Matt's presentation, Mr. Slack, that there will be the regular things involved in this project, which include tree management, drainage patterns, and whatever the other one was, Matt. So with that in mind, when others are finished, then I will make a motion for approval.
Okay. Is there any more questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, I will accept your motion, Nancy, and seconded by Thomas. All in favor of the application?
Here.
Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
I thought I had an opportunity to have a question. I didn't hear a lot of what you said. I'm going to ask you questions to clarify. Number one, did you hear the state of the paper?
Yes.
Two, are they going to do snow removal or how are they going to do that? I don't know the answer to that.
They're going to have site plan. It has to go through site plan approval. So all of those things will be looked at that.
And you will look at drainage?
Yes. Yes.
You can also go on to YouTube or.
Sorry.
For the interested party, you can also go onto YouTube and you can view the meeting afterwards to see the presentation that was made again if you wish. We are all set for the next file. We're hearing ANB 2259 for 382 South Coat Road in Ancaster. We have David with a conflict and he has left. We have the agent for the file registered to speak, sorry, and one interested party.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, good afternoon again, members of the committee. Again, it's Matt Johnston, registered professional planner with Urban Solutions. I have reviewed the staff report and do have a presentation. I'd appreciate a few minutes to walk you through.
Okay, I just want to ask at this point, because there are some denials, did you want to table it or did you want to do your presentation and hope and let us vote on it, or what was your idea?
I would like to proceed with the presentation. I do welcome the feedback of the committee, and I think we can have a good discussion. It's not too far off from things that we've seen before, so that's what I'd like to highlight, and then we can see where things stand.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Thank you. All right, that should be on the screen now. So I'm here today on behalf of a numbered company, better known as Zena Homes. And the subject lands are just on the south side, or sorry, the west side of South Coat Road. Here's a close-up. Certainly a house in need of some TLC, probably a higher and better use for it, and that's what we're here to try to implement today. We're located in a neighborhoods designation, as you'd probably expect. We're located in a low-density residential 1A designation in the applicable secondary plan, Gardner Road secondary plan. And what's rather unique is that we're still in an old agricultural zone. It's a site-specific agricultural zone that happens to prohibit piggeries, poultry operations, feedlot operations, etc. And I believe that it's that policy framework, that secondary plan, and the zoning bylaw that are causing the most significant concerns with staff. And now I'll touch quickly on the variances or the severances that we have here. We're looking to create 3 lots by severing the middle lands and retaining the outside 2. We have one 50-foot lot proposed on the north side, and that's primarily to create a little bit more of a buffer to the existing trees. And then the balance are 12.2 meter lots. And the required variance is to accommodate that. That includes minimum lot frontage, minimum lot area, and side yard setbacks. Now, these setbacks and these variances that we're asking for appear somewhat more substantial given that old agricultural zoning. So yes, we're going from 30 to 12, but that 12 is much more aligned with the established lot fabric. Yes, we're going from 1,800 square meter lot area down to 459. That 459 is very much aligned with a lot having a 12.2 meter frontage. Again, they're 12.2 meters wide by 38 meters deep. Now, there's really, like I said, two things. There's issues with the secondary plan that puts us in a low density residential 1A. That only permits single detached dwellings, and it only permits lots having a minimum lot frontage of 15 meters and a density of 18 units per hectare. On the screen here, you see all of the lots within that same designation that don't conform. Particularly on the far left-hand side, these are all street townhouses, not a permitted built form, and don't comply with the frontage requirements. So when we do look at that aspect, I'd like to suggest that yes, there are issues at a glance, but what we're doing is very much aligned with the surrounding area. And I touched on those zoning regulations that we're varying, and that magnitude sounds a little bit greater than it truly is. And I just wanted to highlight a few scenarios where the committee was involved in varying the zone category to permit what I call more traditional single detached dwellings. I was the planning consultant for the Sand Beach application, and also in this 2018 application on Jerseyville Road. I was not the applicant for 520 Jerseyville Road, but it was also supported by the committee where the magnitude of those variances were approved. What's also interesting is that the Sand Beach applications and 552 Jerseyville were appealed by third parties. And the question about appropriateness for this to proceed through committee of adjustment was also considered by the LPAT at the time. And the LPAT supported the decision, supported the applications, and approved them despite the relatively minor nuances with the zoning bylaw reflecting that old agricultural zone. So my request today would be that we proceed with approval of the application. We're satisfied with all other conditions of approval, with the exception of condition 4 that relates to the requirement for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application. My suggestion there would be that this can be easily and appropriately cleaned up through a future housekeeping amendment. The municipality does these frequently throughout the year. It could also accommodate the balance of the Gardner Road neighborhood plan that also isn't in conformity with itself. And that way we can bring on these 3 lots without going through an overly bureaucratic process. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any further questions.
Okay, thanks, Matt. There was one concerned citizen.
Yes, we will now hear from Al Pio.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So I'm actually directly adjacent to the property. So I'm just concerned about how it would, how my property would look with the proposed, like the side lot, like the side, the spacing on the side lot. Like currently right now, like all the properties, if you're facing the aforementioned property, the 382, I think all the properties there to the left of it actually are doing like the 3 meter side rule. Now, the one reason that I actually love the property that I'm in is because of the fact that the houses are actually widely spaced apart. And I've honestly, like before I bought the property that I have, I think we looked at least 20 or 30 properties in Hamilton, and the only property, like this is one of the properties that actually have a wider side, like the wider side, wider side side lot. So I'm actually just afraid that it would significantly detract from that. And honestly, like all the properties that he showed are to the right of it, and in the newer builds, which is actually not even, it's not in the same row as the property that they're building on. So I'm not sure that we would be necessarily be able to apply that. I know there are precedents that he actually mentioned, but I'm not sure that it's applicable to the property that he mentioned, just because of that. And now he's actually going to push the properties more forward, which is, it would be very, like, I think it would be significantly different from the properties that are beside it.
Through the chair, if I could just ask the resident, are they adjacent to the north or to the south? Just for
I don't know which one is north or south of the street, but I'm 396. So I'm actually, if you're facing the property, I'm to the left of it.
Okay. I do see that. So you're directly south of the subject land. So, in response to some of the questions, we are proposing a 1.2 meter side yard, which is rather consistent with the various zoning bylaws. Again, the magnitude and the reduction from the agricultural zone seems like a much bigger ask than what's really proposed. But the 12 meter lots, 2 12 meter and 150 foot lot are going to result in homes that I think are really much in keeping with the newer homes in the area.
If I may add to that, my only question to the committee is, if this happens to be your house and somebody is building a property right beside your lot that is very much different from the other properties that is right beside it, and the fact that what you loved about your house is going to be changed drastically or significantly by a new build beside yours, would you actually approve it? Would you be happy about the build that's going to be proposed? I don't know if you have a property like that beside you, if somebody is going to propose a significant detraction from what you loved about your property, I don't know that you can actually say yes to that. I know that you're saying that it's probably not a big, it's not a big difference from all the variances that you've seen that other people are proposing, but I would just like to implore to the people here, if somebody is going to change how your property looks and it's going to change what you loved about it, are you going to say yes to it or are you going to say no? And I can't force you to make any decisions towards that, but at the end of it, it's the committee's decision, and if you decide on it, I won't be able to do anything about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I'm going to go to the committee and see if they have any questions or concerns on this application. Thomas?
As I read the comments, the committee, the reviewer seems to say that this property is still zoned agricultural. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that in itself seems to me is a hurdle. Number two, my real concerns, even looking at the drawings submitted by the applicant, basically what they're trying to do is make three lots out of square footage where equal to where surrounding areas only have 2 lots on that square footage. I'm familiar with this area. I drive by there, I don't know how many times a week. These are houses that are there. You look at them, they're the kind of houses you say, gee, I wish I could have one of those. But some people have spent a lot of money building these houses, and it's not fair to them to start now squeezing more houses into smaller lots with less side yard. And that's a big thing, side yard space. The houses there are well spaced, and this is not an area, in my view, that benefits anybody except the developer by allowing 3 houses on a lot that should have 2. I know there's a housing crisis, we need to do all this stuff, but these are not the kind of affordable houses going on here that's going to change the housing crisis. All it's going to do is make the developer money, and at the expense of people who have already spent a lot of money. I would be in favor, I would be prepared to move a motion to deny.
Okay, any other committee members with comments? Laverne first.
I share the same views as Thomas. I drove there and had a look at it. And as far as I'm concerned, they're trying to squeeze 3 lots into an area that is big enough for 2. And if somebody was to come back here and ask for 2 lots in there, I'm sure we would approve it. But I'm certainly not going to wave my hand and approve putting 3 lots into that small area. Thank you.
Okay, Nancy?
Thanks. I have to agree with that, Matt. I see a better spot for 2. I looked at the properties on the right-hand side, so I guess that's I don't know my east and west on that street, but it's 56 feet, 60 feet, 58 feet, all going to the one side at number 396, 400, and so on. So your frontage of 40 feet is significantly less than that by roughly 35% or something. So I'm sort of following the rest of the other guys right now.
So Matt, I will give you the opportunity here. I mean, we see you quite a bit at our committee, and I will give you the opportunity to table it if you wish.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, for that opportunity and for the good feedback from the members. I will heed the advice and ask for a tabling motion and circle back to the applicant and see what revisions, if any, can be made before coming back.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Laverne, seconded by Thomas. Want to second that?
I don't see the point of tabling, quite frankly.
Well, I think if we give them the opportunity and talk with the owner, they may take it down to 2 lots.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, are you okay to second it?
Yeah.
Okay, Thomas seconded. All in favor of table? Opposed?
Here, here.
Sorry, Mark, was that in favor of tabling?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion is carried, application is tabled.
Thank you. I'm up one more time, so I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
Okay.
Save the tough one for last, man.
I was thinking about the order. I would have preferred a different sequence, but it is what it is.
All right, we are all set for the next file. We're hearing HMB 2258 for 52 Chatham Street in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, good afternoon again, Matt Johnston, registered professional planner. Happy to be here on behalf of the owners. Just a quick few issues. We're happy with the recommendation. We do have some concerns with some of the conditions of approval. And again, I'll move through this very quickly, but I'll share my screen. Many of you remember when we were here just over a year ago, securing minor variance applications to reduce the minimum lot frontage and lot area for semi-detached dwelling. The plan at that time was to secure those minor variances, proceed with construction, and then do the severance application with the real intent of limiting conditions of approval. It's an approach that we've worked on a number of times. So we have our zoning in place in a D district, and that's important because it permits semis as of right, and it led to a little bit of the confusion in the zoning comments. Here's the previous minor variance application where we reduced the lot frontage. Sorry, I mentioned we reduced lot area. That's not true. I apologize. We only reduced lot frontage. And that lot frontage was to ensure that street line was consistent with all the other homes that all are also set back approximately 1.4 meters. So construction proceeded with those variances in place, and it's still ongoing and coming along well. The severance line proposes to implement that vision. The garages, the home are all well under construction. And like I said, when we applied for this variance back in 2021, we had consultation with Maria Romano, and in her email communication, she confirmed that, and I've got it quoted here, for a two-family dwelling, the lot should be evaluated against the site in its entirety. There is no regulation for lot frontage or lot area on half of a semi-detached in the D district. And it was on that premise that we applied for the reduction in lot frontage from 18 meters to 14.9. So, and it's the same approach that we've done on those similar applications that we've dealt with in the past, where we account for the whole frontage, not the frontage of half the semi. And it's with that in mind that we look to have some of these zoning conditions not applied. So that's conditions 5, 6, 7, and 8 that all relate to just zoning conformity in various ways. The houses went through the building permit in the normal fashion. Permits were issued, and when we've got these existing buildings that we're severing, or these existing semis that we're severing, it's often practice that we waive these zoning conditions. So I'd ask for that today. Secondly, we have one engineering condition that relates to separate storm sanitary sewers. And again, the building permits were issued. The servicing drawings clearly demonstrate separate lateral connections per unit. And having condition 4 waived would just save some administrative processing time. So it's with that I respectfully ask the committee to approve the application, applying only subject conditions of approval 1 to 3, and the zoning and engineering condition be waived. We do have a number of examples on the screen where we've waived zoning conditions of approval and engineering conditions of approval, all of which I appeared before many of you here. We see the file numbers between 2019 and as recently as 2022, a few weeks ago on Stephen Street. So it's with that I do ask for your approval, subject to the conditions of approval requested to be waived. Again, that being 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Committee have any questions?
It's my day to ask questions. In doing that, I mean, basically what we're doing is allowing the severance, which I have no problem with, and almost guaranteeing that they're going to have to approve the other variances in order to allow something to be done with these 2 lots that are sitting there now empty. How do we know that there could be a proposal that will allow anything to be built on these lots?
Sorry, if I could clarify through the chair, good question, but just to be really certain here, the townhouses that are permitted through those previous variances that were approved have applied for building permits. That building permit process includes a zoning evaluation that led to that permit issuance. The permits were issued, and the building permits were issued, and construction is now really well underway. I did have photos of the unit themselves as they existed at the time we posted the notice sign a few weeks ago. And that's what I'm saying, is that the zoning review for the building permit should satisfy things. I do appreciate it's kind of standard practice to throw these conditions out there, but each condition comes with a $250 administration fee for a zoning compliance review. It takes a number of weeks to go through that. Just a lot of time and energy on something that is really recognizing what was just permitted. a few months earlier to allow construction to proceed.
Well, if I may, I mean, we have approved the severance of properties where there have been adjoining houses in the past, even though they might not have complied with the zoning bylaw, just to solve a problem. Here, we may be creating a problem. And that's the difference, seems to me, between the two approaches. Basically, what we're saying is, yes, at least what I'm suggesting is what we're saying is, yeah, sure, we'll allow the severance subject to the conditions, which means we'll do it if it doesn't create a problem. Rather than we'll do it carte blanche, and when there's a problem, you can say, well, you did it before when there was a problem.
I appreciate that, sir, through the chair. We do have 9 instances for existing semis where these were all waived. So it's really just a matter of ease of process and being consistent with the committee's previous waivers on the same conditions.
Have we done it before? You're saying, just so that I'm clear, please, are you saying we've done it before when there was no construction there, and this sort of carte blanche way, saying, yeah, we'll make the severance, no conditions, and if there's a problem, it'll be solved?
No, we're not. I mean, we're not doing it in a carte blanche way where it's no construction. These units exist, and they were permitted through that included a zoning review. And when I've been here in 9 other scenarios in the last 3 years, it's been the will of the committee to waive those conditions just to really save that administrative process of securing so many zoning compliance reviews for something that was just reviewed a few short months ago at the time of permit issuance.
So you're saying if we've dug a hole, we should be prepared to jump into it?
Okay, I've got other committee members. We'll start with Nancy.
Get this rolling. There we go. Okay, regarding number 6, condition, Matt, that's the one about the demolition. Since construction is already underway, is that demolition not completed?
That's right. That's another good example. I grouped that one into the zoning discussion, but the previous home has been demoed and the new townhouses have been built. So 6 is especially redundant. The demo permit's been issued and closed.
So number 4, 5, 7, and 8 are the ones in question?
That's right. So 6, I think we just agreed is certainly appropriate. Number 4 relates specifically to demonstrating sanitary sewers are separate. In the past, that has involved, sending a camera through the pipes, and certainly that would be a tad onerous when we know the permit was just issued with separate servicing. We certainly wouldn't do a Y connection. We wouldn't be permitted to do a Y connection, which is what a condition like this is intended to clean up. That Y connection is a very old approach for semi-detached units in the much older parts of the lower city. And then we have condition 5, condition 7, requiring zoning verification. Again, that was done through the permit review. And then condition 8 states that we apply for and receive required building permits in the normal manner. Those permits have been issued.
If that's already done, then I don't see any problem with going ahead with a motion with those 4, 5, 7, and we don't even need 8 at this point.
Nor 6.
6 is done, 8 is done, correct?
Correct.
So 4, 5, 7. That's me.
Yeah. Okay. Next, Mel.
Yeah, I agree with Nancy and with what she said there, agree with Matt, so I'll second that motion.
Margaret, do you have any comments?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I think that some of them I would agree with removing. I'm a little concerned, though, about number 5, because previously your zoning review would probably have been a review of one building on one lot and not a zoning compliance for semi-detached on 2 lots. So it seems to me that there could be some, I know that zoning mentions the situation of 0 lot line variance, which would be required. So I think that I wouldn't feel comfortable removing number 5. 6, of course, is redundant, and 8 is redundant, and 4 is redundant, but I would not be comfortable with removing 5.
Comment, Matt? Number 5?
Yes, thank you. Like I said, we had the communication with Maria Romano that helped us craft those initial variances. Of the 9 previous examples that I had, there was an understanding that perhaps there are encroachments, perhaps there are accessory structures that don't comply, but we're creating we're really implementing an as of right permission. Like I said, I think that waiving that condition would be in keeping with past practices, and that would be my ask today.
Okay. I will accept your motion at this time. Nancy?
Sorry, and just to clarify, Nancy, so that was a motion for approval with conditions 1, 2, and 3, and all other conditions removed. 1, 2, and 3. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 were removed. Is that correct?
No.
No? You only wanted 4 and 8 removed?
4, 6, and 8?
4, 6, and 8.
If someone wants to confirm that, what I think.
So condition 4 was to demonstrate a separate storm sanitary drains. Condition 6 was to demolish all buildings as appropriate. And condition 8 was to receive building permits as appropriate. Okay. All right. So conditions 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7 remain. Is that correct? Is that your motion?
If I could, I appreciate the follow-up questions from Margaret. When we were speaking, like I said, we had a discussion about the zoning review. That relates really to 5 and 7, survey evidence, future required variances. That's where we're going down a path to account for an existing building that was just reviewed through a process. So, like I said, when the committee's been introducing a severance line for existing semis, we've waived that condition with great frequency, 9 times to be a bit more specific. So I'm hoping that 5 and 7 could be added to that list, despite Margaret's comments.
Okay, Nancy, it's your motion on the floor.
It is my motion on the floor.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Which motion? Oh, we don't know what the motion is yet.
Nobody has
I thought you made a motion.
Thought Nancy made it.
I did.
Oh, Nancy, sorry, you're muted still.
Different variances were excluded, so I know we've done it in the past, so I'm gonna go through with, you guys can follow suit, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is for approval with conditions 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 removed.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor of that motion?
Here, here.
Opposed?
I have 1 opposed.
Yes.
Yep.
Motion carried. Application approved.
Thank you.
I misunderstood.
That was Thomas as seconded. All right, we are all set for the next file. We're hearing HMB 2166 for 940 to 946 Beach Boulevard in Hamilton. We have, which file? We have the owners and agents registered to speak, as well as 2 interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am.
Yes, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, I did.
And do you have any questions?
I'm hoping that Jamila did receive follow-up comments from Forestry.
I believe those comments were sent in after the deadline to submit written comments. I did receive them, Mr. Chairman, and Forestry wished to withdraw condition 4 at the discretion of the committee.
Okay, committee have any questions?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Similar to last time, I'm obviously concerned with the request for a consent agreement. After the last meeting, I did follow up with development engineering, and I did get responses from them. And yeah, unfortunately, they are not changing their position. But interesting, today in preparing for this meeting, when I went back and looked at the original zoning bylaw that was passed and the site-specific clauses, the one clause, which was 1B, states notwithstanding clause A, a side yard may be reduced to a width of at least 1.5 meters only where a common swale between the adjoining properties has been approved under a lot grading agreement or approved under a site plan agreement. Now, back in 2019, when they increased the minimum floor elevation from 76 meters above sea level to 76.5, they deleted the lot grading agreement wording from that clause. Now, I'd like to point out a second clause in the site-specific G. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, for every new building, a lot grading agreement with the city of Hamilton shall be entered into and registered on title to the satisfaction of the building department director, except for developments that require approval under the site plan control bylaw. We are subject to site plan control everywhere on the beach strip. So again, I don't understand the need to do both processes, a consent agreement and then a site plan agreement. They both look at the same thing, and the purpose of site plan control on the beach strip is for grading and drainage purposes. Now, we are in the Heritage District. We do have to submit building plans for the actual building elevations as well. So we have a lot of processes to go through. And it just seems redundant to be going through a consent agreement and a site plan approval where we're gonna be looking at grading both times. At this time, we're gonna be providing general grades at the corners of the property, at the corners of each new property line. Then when you come back for site plan control, we're gonna have to do more detailed grading when we know what we're actually building. So that's my only concern. Now, I mean, if it's gonna be an issue again, we don't want to table this, and if it's not gonna be removed, or the committee doesn't have an inkling to remove it, then we're gonna reluctantly agree to it. That's all.
Committee have questions?
We do have interested parties as well.
Sorry.
Want to hear from them?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we will hear from Joel Hughes first. Mr. Hughes, if you're calling in by phone, you'll just need to press *6 or *9 to unmute yourself. I do not currently see him on the call, Mr. Chairman. We will move forward to the other interested party. So we have Terry Belfour, registered to speak for this item. So you'll just need to mute and unmute yourself as appropriate.
Got it. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm sort of walking in here a little bit unprepared. I had emailed in last week asking for all information. I never received any of the comments that were that had come through with, I guess, some approvals already from you nice people. I just wanted to say that I live at 936 Beach Boulevard. Similar to someone we heard from a couple items back on South Coat Road, I definitely have purchased this property 9 years ago because of its space. I was definitely looking for a home that didn't have a neighbor that I could reach out my window and touch. And was so happy to find this lovely heritage area with this 50s bungalow next door, owned by a woman named Carolyn Wallace, who had lived there her whole life. Again, knowing that it was a heritage area, it put me more at ease with making my purchase and deciding to raise my kids there. I'm very concerned about a minimum setback. I'm very concerned about 3 properties or 3 potential new houses next door. And I'm very much concerned about the blockage or the lack of light. When my house was built, it was before the Skyway. It was built in 1900. So before the Skyway was there, and it would have been facing the bay. My house has 63 windows. Great for the window manufacturers in the area, but for me, I love the light. So I do have some definite concerns about having suddenly the 3 houses next door. I certainly wouldn't want any future variance with having a house right on my lot line. Just very concerned about these things. It definitely takes the thought of 3 houses right next door, it definitely takes away from my use or enjoyment of my land.
Oh. Okay, thank you. That's all the interested parties registered to speak.
Okay. I have a question.
You just need to unmute yourself.
Sorry?
You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, but you're next door to one of these lots, what, toward the canal or away from the canal?
Away from the canal. I'm on the garage side.
Well, that would make your lot about the same size as the size of the lots that are being proposed. Is that a problem?
You'll just need to, if you're going to speak, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry.
There's a diagram here.
I realize the current setup of the properties right now, and I definitely have enjoyed having about 20 feet, having the neighbor's unattached garage about 20 feet from my home. That level of spaciousness definitely was a big appeal to buying the property.
Okay.
I'm also concerned, sorry, one more thing. I'm also concerned about if there has been any new survey done. I didn't actually have a survey when I purchased my property, but I did notice in the one diagram that was emailed to me that it references a post and wire lot line. I would be very hard pressed to find any evidence of that post and wire lot line.
Steven?
Yeah, that'd be something you'd have to take up with the developer. But I think that this lots are similar in size all the way along, and unfortunately, we can't promise right to view all the time. You know, things change over time, right? Wherever you move, you've got to understand that something could actually come there and enjoy it while you last, and sometimes it could last forever, and that's just the way the cards are dealt sometimes.
I understand what you're saying. Just because it was a heritage area when I purchased, I really didn't expect it.
Yeah. So in saying,
and I think that's a reasonable expectation.
Yeah. In saying that, I'm make a motion for approval.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor.
there any more questions before I accept that? Okay. Oh,
Just a comment.
okay, sure.
I have a flash review.
Oh, that's because his is on, yeah. Try it now.
Oh, no, we're good. Was that a motion for approval with all the conditions?
That would be my thing. I'm assuming with all the conditions, yes.
Did you, the conditions as written, or did you want to remove the condition from forestry that they requested to be withdrawn?
Let me see that one again. I actually read that one.
Number 4.
It was tree management plan must
Yeah,
be submitted to
4.
forestry and horticultural section.
Yeah, we can remove that one then.
All right, so the motion on the floor is a motion to approve, made by David with condition 4 removed and all other conditions remaining.
Seconder, Nancy?
I second it.
Okay, Mark?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you very much.
Great, and we're all set for the next file. So we're hearing HMA 22179 for 83 Oak Avenue in Hamilton. We have the owners registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the owner available?
Yes, hi.
Yes, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, we did.
Okay, committee have any questions? Does the applicant have any questions?
No.
No. Committee?
Move it.
Val?
Move it.
Move it, please.
Seconded, Dave? Okay,
Yes,
all in
yes.
favor?
Here, here.
Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, we did have a break scheduled at this time. Did you wish to proceed or did we wish a break? We do have another one scheduled later in the hearing. I wasn't sure how our first hybrid meeting would go, so I did prepare.
Want to keep going? Want a break?
Take one now and then cut the second.
Okay.
Okay.
What, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 5 minutes?
Yeah. Gotta go add to my parking meter.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're going to recess the meeting for 5 minutes. We will return at, okay, just slightly longer than 3 minutes. We'll return at 3:15. Is that sufficient? Thank you, Mr. Chair. right, Mr. Chairman, we are all set for the next file, provided everybody, all the committee members are ready. Yes, we have everyone attending. I see all members of the committee, and then just, Mark, are you there? You just don't have your
Sure
camera
am.
on. Perfect. We have all committee members in attendance. So we're hearing, let me track the file. So we're hearing HMA 22184 for 577 Barton Street East in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak and several interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, the agent is here, Ken Beekendam from King Homes, Inc., and I'm the agent for the property.
Yes. Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, we did, yes. So we did, so just to present the application. So what we have here is it's an existing commercial mixed-use building on Barton Street. And we're looking to convert the ground floor commercial units to residential units. Right now, we do have an approved building permit, which has been issued, and construction is already commencing on 12 residential units on the upper levels. So the application before us is for a 0.9 meter above grade requirement for the ground floor residential and for a slight reduction in the amenity area for the units. We did read the letters that came in. And so what we have before us here is we have some boarded up commercial vacant commercial units, which they're plentiful along Barton Street. And so, you know, we've read the letters. I do feel for some of the existing business owners along Barton. And, you know, we have this struggle here between needing more residential units and trying to keep a viable business district in the Barton Street BIA. And we don't take that lightly. You know, we want to see that become a vibrant area. You know, we don't dismiss the concerns of the existing business owners or the BIA. However, those commercial units in this building have been vacant at least since 2014, if not prior. There was a previous variance application that came to committee in 2014 and was denied. And this was shortly after the Barton Street corridor study had come out with their recommendations for the area. Now, this study was completed in 2014, and we're sitting here in 2022. And, you know, as you know, with the pandemic and the shift in consumer spending and how people make purchases, you know, there's less of a need for these smaller commercial storefronts. The previous building owners have struggled to try and find and fill these commercial units, and hence why they're still boarded up to this day. Yes, we recognize that the previous building owners, you know, were trying to rent out some of these places for residential use. That was not the current building owner. My client has, you know, since purchased the building and is trying to make this a beautiful building once again and make it all legal and create nice units here. So, you know, when I was posting the variance sign on the building, the neighboring business owner, Stephen, which he sent a letter in, he's also the director of the BIA, he expressed concern to me. He basically was complaining to me or even accosting me on the street, complaining how his business had 0 people come in that day and that he wasn't going to make any money that day for his business. And that's concerning to me. It's concerning to me because I would love to see him get more business, but it's concerning for me and my client that if these were to remain as commercial units, that we wouldn't see any business either, or that our commercial tenants wouldn't see any business either. So that's a big concern. So, you know, my feeling about this is that, well, we need more people. We need more people down there. We need more people living down there to provide, you know, business and foot traffic to the existing businesses that are there. You know, like you guys see it, you drive up and down Barton Street, it's littered with boarded up commercial spaces. So we have a conflict here. We have an issue here in our city about what do we do with all of this boarded up commercial space, especially during a housing crisis. So variances have been approved in the past for the 0.9 meters above grade requirement, which is, in my opinion, considered very minor, so that we can get more of these units down in that area to service these businesses. There was a letter complaining about maybe the size of our units. When I look at the floor plans, we have a nice mix of unit sizes here. Actually, the largest one on the ground floor being 1,100 square feet. That's a very big unit. The smallest one being about 450 square feet. So these aren't tiny units. Yes, the smaller ones at 450 square feet or 550 square feet, they're smaller one-bed apartments, but I wouldn't say they're tiny by any means. And they definitely are a unit size that services the type of tenant profile that is in that area that need smaller bachelors and one beds. They don't need a 3-bedroom unit down there. So that is the application that's before us. I'm seeking committee's approval for the variance for the 0.9 meters above grade so that we can get more residents living down in this area to service the BIA. Right now, as it stands, there's not a lot of foot traffic down there, and guys, we need more people down there. So appreciate your comments, and I'm willing to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. And we'll turn to the citizens.
Okay, so we have Bill Curran registered to speak first. Sorry, you'll just have to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Curran. I'm an architect in Hamilton. I'm also a developer. I'm also a Barton Street property owner. You may know the building we redeveloped at 433 Barton Street East, which holds Mosaic Bar and the Bateson Lofts. I also have another building that'll be coming before you momentarily that includes ground floor residential. As you know from my previous applications, even at 121 King, I'm a very big supporter of ground floor residential, and I do support it in general on Barton. And I was one of the authors of the Barton Street study, which included a bunch of examples on how to do ground floor residential appropriately. What I'm concerned about is that Hamilton needs more quality housing and not more poor quality housing. And I believe that this proposal is poor quality housing that I believe, given the market and the economy, will really target poor people, desperate people, and will put them into very undignified and not very good quality accommodation. Barton needs quality development to help it rebound. I'm in agreement with Stephen from the BIA and the other BIA people that I've talked to. But this proposal doesn't even include any improvements to the facade or the public domain in any way. The unpainted plywood on the front of the building is not even proposed to be painted. The building is definitely an eyesore. In my mind, in exchange for the city giving permissions like these variances that give an owner a significant financial benefit, in this case, adding 50% more apartments to the building, I believe the citizens of Hamilton should get community benefits. And I believe that that means we should see things like improved facades, higher quality buildings, higher quality amenities, and defined usable quality amenity space, especially with small units. I have no problem with small units either. But more importantly, I think we need to make sure that we're giving people good quality places to live in, because it's a basic quality of life issue. And we see these examples over and over again. There are specific concerns I have with this application. There are existing illegal ground floor apartments that have been used for years. I guess they've been vacant now. They're creating tiny bachelor apartments. They're 360 to 400 square feet. I have the drawings in front of me. There was one unit that was 850 square feet. But the one that's 850 square feet, and many of these tiny bachelors, they include interior dens that are windowless and studies that don't have windows. I think we all understand that windowless rooms that are unventilated because the building doesn't have air conditioning, it only has a boiler, tend to be used as bachelors or bedrooms by desperate people. And I don't think that that's appropriate, notwithstanding the ability of bylaw and the building department and fire to regulate. But, windowless rooms that are unventilated will be used as bedrooms. And having 2 dens, including one that's almost 14 by 18 in a bachelor apartment is very odd, let's say. When you've got an apartment like that, you've got bedrooms or dens that are over 40 feet from the exterior wall. So I think we're all pretty clear that the window air conditioning unit you're going to need to put in will not circulate fresh air and will not circulate cooling to those interior rooms. It's going to be very difficult to do that. In terms of the rest of the development, the second floor amenity space proposed is a tiny extension of our fire escape. Perhaps room for a few chairs, but it's directly outside an apartment that has no air conditioning. Therefore, they will be compromised in terms of privacy, since all the apartments rely on operable windows. The ground floor amenity space proposed, notwithstanding the staff report approving it, is actually an existing rear surfaced asphalt garbage storage area and walkway that leads to the alleyway. It's not shown separated or secured and enhanced in any way on the drawings. And if you go and look on Street View, you will see not that long ago, it was being used as garbage storage. I don't see that as an amenity space. It will continue to be used as garbage. There's no other waste storage room or area in the building or on the site plan. So where else will all these units keep their waste? As well, that waste storage area is also the fire exit from half the units in the building. And importantly, the new ground floor apartments that are being proposed, half of them, this will be the only entrance. All those apartments will have to come in and out through the laneway and through the garbage storage area. And with seniors and the frail elderly and women and children, laneway access only for a dwelling unit is really far from desirable. So I have that as a problem. As well, the 3 back ground floor units, their windows and doors open into the amenity area. So again, back to noise and privacy, it's really not a very good setup. Adding new apartments really should require resident bicycle storage and public bicycle storage spaces, which are not shown in this proposal. I don't know if that'll get picked up in the permitting process. But the other issue is that adding 50% more apartments to the building needs to trigger some sort of city review about waste storage because there's no outdoor waste storage shown. So in summary, although I'm a huge proponent of Barton redevelopment, I'm a huge proponent of ground floor residential on Barton. This is not the kind of high quality housing that we need in Hamilton today. And the residents, especially our poorer, less resource ones, that will end up likely the residents in this building need. So I don't believe this owner is earning his variances or demonstrating the need for them. And I would ask that they be denied or that the proponent comes back with a better plan that speaks to these issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Am I able to comment?
I'd like to hear all the citizens of concerns first, and then we'll back to you for comments.
Okay.
So we'll hear from Jessica Myers now. Please come forward. And please mute and unmute yourself as appropriate.
Pardon me, sorry?
Yeah, just speak into the microphone and make sure that you're unmuted.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Jessica Myers. I'm the Executive Director of the Barton Village BIA. And on behalf of the Barton business community and the BIA, I'm expressing our concern over the application submitted by the owners of 577 Barton Street East to convert the existing ground floor commercial unit into 6 dwelling units. When a small business decides to open on Barton Street, it's because they see opportunity and a vibrant future for this commercial corridor. They're investing in a vision that fellow businesses, residents, staff, city staff, and developers have been working tirelessly to create. Entrepreneurs who consider investing on Barton are able to obtain favorable commercial lease rates compared to other parts of the GTHA. This opportunity is one of the key factors that attract new business investment in our district. Allowing ground floor commercial units to convert into residential units will set our businesses back, devalue existing investment, and undermine the identifiable character of the neighborhood. It also potentially reduces the levy that the BIA relies on to fund common initiatives. Like all communities, the city of Hamilton was dealt a significant economic blow by COVID-19. Some businesses were shuttered just as many newly refurbished commercial spaces became available. This has been the case on Barton Street. While some property owners may be eager to mitigate their losses and capitalize on the affordable housing crisis, allowing commercial spaces to convert into residential will directly undermine the vision the business community has been investing in, as well as the competitive advantage that attracts new investment. As the executive director of the Barton Village Business Improvement Area, I represent not only businesses, but property owners as well. And this application has troubled many of us and raised concerns about the precedent it would set with its approval and the message it would send to the business community. There's no question that more affordable housing is needed in the city of Hamilton, but there are also many promising initiatives underway to accomplish this. It is our BIA's position that repurposing prime business investment opportunities to address the affordable housing shortage will not only undermine the economic vitality that creates jobs and opportunities in the heart of our city. We here at the Barton Village BIA would be happy to participate in any further discussions on this matter. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
We'll hear from Walter Ferlin.
Hello, committee. I'm Walter. I'm a business owner of 3 buildings on Barton Street. I'm outside of the BIA. My wife and I, we live above our storefronts. So we're continually fighting these things. I've been here 8 years ago with Bob Morrow, God bless his soul. We opposed that application at the time for this building. We were successful. My thing, I agree with everything that's been said so far. This is going to set a precedent if this is allowed for the commercial district. And as far as it flourishing, it has a potential. The people are coming in, contrary to what the gentleman said. The people are there. They're coming in. There's a lot of money coming into Barton Street. And one big thing I would point out is this was denied 8 years ago, and there was no good faith to turn this back into commercial. There's been absolutely zero good faith here, right? So we have to go back, make it into a commercial facade, give it a shot, and you will find the tenants. They will come in, they will pay you. And as far as the housing goes, I mean, right across the street from us, there's a demolition permit for a perfectly good 2.5-story house. We all know about the demolition throughout the corridor and the LRT. So, I mean, there's a lot that can be done, and good housing can happen. It's got to be above, it should be above as per the rules. And one final thing I'll just comment. I don't appreciate the gentleman there, I don't know his name, how he, my colleague Steve here accosted him. I don't appreciate that comment because that's not the case. He was just trying to collaborate with you, which you weren't interested in. So that's about all I got to say about that. Thanks. And please reject the application.
Where are your properties?
We're down by Lottridge. We run a heritage conservation firm down there, Fairland Conservation. And we work all over the country restoring buildings, putting on workshops in the heritage field.
How many vacant buildings in your block? Commercial?
There's none. There's no vacant buildings, but there's people that are living inside them illegally in awful conditions.
Well, that's what I mean, not non-used commercial.
Well, it's very lucrative for the landlords. If you can put all these people inside storefronts and in the basement, by the way, where you're getting people that have they're on social service. They have disability checks coming in, and the landlord gets the check right to them. It's very lucrative.
But my question was, how many buildings have unused commercial on your block?
There's a few. There's a few, yes, because they're not motivated to turn them into commercial. Why would they be? They make a lot more money on vulnerable people. Because nobody will uphold the rules. That's why we're here, trying to get that turned around.
Are you down around where the Polish bakery is on the south side?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The previous speaker, your comments that were wrote down, would you be able to hand them in for the secretary to copy, or if you wish to send a copy in?
Okay, and we'll hear from Brenda Duke next.
My name is Brenda Duke. I live half a block from the corner of Barton and Birch, and I'm within 1 block of the old Colonial, or 577 Barton Street. The building has always been a blight on our neighborhood. Previous owners did nothing to improve the building, and basically they have boarded up, they have demolished a lot of the heritage features of the building that I don't know if they can ever be restored as a heritage building. But I know a lot of people in the community that recall when it was a vibrant commercial space on Barton Street. And as I said, it's just slowly deteriorated more and more. Complaints to bylaw for the state of the building in the front. The rear, as Bill Curran mentioned, is accessed through the alley. I'm active in the community, and as I said, I live a half a block from that alley. And we are constantly dealing with vagrants in the alley that are attracted there because of the garbage, illegal dumping. The fenced-off area was put in a few years ago because to segregate that garbage from the alley. And I noticed yesterday when I was through that there's just been like a new chain added to secure it. It's an embarrassment to our neighborhood. A lot of the residents on my street, some have been there 50 years, and they aren't, English is not their first language. So, you know, they kind of rely on other people to speak for them. And I can tell you at least 10 people on my block that are thoroughly against this because it's not what the community needs. And we do need housing. There's no doubt that we have people in our neighborhood and in our community that need places to live. But when we give people a place to live, we also need to look at what benefit is it to them. I personally would not want to live in a box that I had no access to green space, whether it's on my property or, you know, behind or whatever. There's no parking on the building. And I know people will say, oh, well, everybody rides a bike these days, but not everybody does. And so they park on the neighboring streets. There's very limited street parking to serve what little commercial we do have in that 2-block area from Birch to Milton, where this building is. So if people or residents do have a vehicle and they're using our streets, then that impedes on the existing community and neighbors in the neighborhood. And in my mind, as a resident, and I hear the stories, I remember when there was a grocery store. I wish there was a coffee shop nearby. And I would love to see those types of amenities on Barton Street in that area. Because for these residents, we have to go up past Sanford, up past Wentworth, before we can find a coffee shop. You know, we're lucky to have businesses like the furniture store that Steve runs. That is an asset in the neighborhood. I know that he invested a lot in the building. He made sure that there were
amenities like the de-paving and planting to bring green space to that corner. And we have some derelict buildings, but there's potential for that commercial aspect. And we need more business owners and more building owners like Steve that serve the community and improve the community, not just look to make a profit off of the people in the neighborhood. And my feeling is that this should be denied for the benefit of the existing community, for the surrounding schools, the parks. There's thousands of dollars being invested in our parks and recreation centers. And we want to have a Barton Street that people aren't afraid or don't want to. Nothing draws them to Barton so that they can see the wonderful amenities that are already there. So I'm asking that that you deny this request for residential ground floor units. I don't believe that they fit what the neighborhood needs, regardless of whether they're different than what I first envisioned. I'm asking that the owner make some effort to restore some commercial aspect to that corner of Barton Street to complement the businesses that are there and have been contributing, places like Barton Furniture, the neighborhood pharmacy, the neighborhood variety store. And I sincerely hope that you'll listen to the community voice and deny the application.
Okay, we'll hear from Stephen Colville-Reeves next.
Thank you, committee members, for your time today. My name is Steve Colville-Reeves, and I own 3 buildings on Barton Street, including the adjacent building at 579, 581, the old Gulliver Sports building. I've been a director on the BIA for 6 years and have been working with the community on some very positive initiatives. In that time, I've seen a lot of the problems that Barton has, and in my opinion, one of the problems is clustering residential on the ground floors. From my own observation, it doesn't attract any women or families, and often they descend into kind of a boarding house where it becomes very stigmatized with violence, drugs, and police visits. So one of the things that we've been doing as a BIA is we've been doing some strategic planning. And just yesterday, we were at a symposium at Westinghouse. The city's hired a group called Urban Strategies. And one of the things that they're impressing upon the BIA and the wider community is to try and activate storefronts and get businesses in there, because it creates a positive cycle with pedestrian traffics. Then more burgeoning businesses want to form and come to the location. So we're having some real successes. And I think the street needs more champion landlords who want to come in and make a difference for the street and not just be a kind of cash vacuum and exploit people who have no other alternatives for housing. And it's great that there's an addition of 12 units there, and I commend that, because this was a boarding house that was effectively closed by a fire. The previous owner was an absentee owner who didn't really care about the building or the community. So I'm glad it's changed hands and they look like they want to do something positive. But I think it's really important that we look for storefronts that create that positive cycle. Within my 3 buildings, I have 7 commercial tenants. They're all very loyal to the neighborhood. My most recent one that I signed is a young woman. She's a lawyer. She's opening up a business called Parquet at 539 Barton Street, so basically a block from this building, 577. So it's right across from the Westinghouse building, sorry, right across from the 541 on Westinghouse. She deliberately targeted Barton Street because of all the young families there, and her business will be, it's a kid's store, but they're going to be doing Montessori-style games and toys for kids, so that's with an educational slant. And so it's very positive for the street, and I think there could be more success stories like that, but we need to get to critical mass, and when we have these dead zones, it really detracts from that positive momentum. The other thing, the other tenants that I have on the street are doing extremely well. Barton Furniture has been there for 16 years. Pat Mancini runs that store. I would like to say to my friend on the other side, I've never met him before. I never have even spoken to him, so I don't know where he got the idea that I accosted him. But in closing, I'd like to say to you that 6 years of activity on the board, and our previous ED was Rachel Braithwaite. She was a real connector. And one of the problems that we continually had is people would phone to get into Barton Street because the pricing is competitive. It may be one of the cheapest places in the GTHA to set up a business. And one of the constant problems was there was no ready-to-go storefronts. The owners who had neglected it couldn't easily convert because it didn't have the proper fire rating or there was no proper storefront there. So if the committee is inclined to say, listen, they have to use best efforts. They were told in 2014 they had to use best efforts to convert this back, which I understand they never did. Now's the time to get them to convert them back because there are people who want to take an opportunity on Barton Street. It's happening. Certainly it's creeping from the west side, from Victoria, but it's moving east and it's getting to Woodlands Park, and we want to continue that momentum. So I would ask the committee in good faith to help us build our community and deny this application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That was all the interested parties who registered to speak.
Okay. Committee have any questions? Comments?
Sorry, did you say Thomas?
No, I said,
Okay. Bob is requesting to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to Ken, Bob, I think you're up next.
Okay.
Ken, could you just give me the size of those units on the upper levels, please?
So just so everyone is aware, we already have an approved building permit that we work diligently with building staff for the 12 new proposed units. So
Hang on, I was just asking the size of the units on the upper floor, nothing else.
So just give me 1 second. I'm just going through my plans here, 1 second. So the smallest one, we're ranging from like 348 would be the smallest. Okay, it's a little bachelor unit. And then the largest is about 566.
Okay, thank you.
That's the second floor, the second and third floor units. And then the ground floor, we proposed larger units actually.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to add that this time I get to say I'm a resident of the neighborhood and have been for about 27 years. And I've been in touch with Linda Benson, who you all know, numerous times, and happy to say that I'm going to be advertising in your newspaper someday soon. And I know there's a lot going on Barton Street, and I think there's lots of opportunity for more businesses to come out on Barton Street. And I'm in a position where I would not be happy to support the application at this point.
I haven't had a chance to respond back to some of the comments I've heard. When will I get a chance to respond?
After the committee.
yep, after the committee asks questions.
Okay, thank you.
So we have Bob next.
I'll wait. I don't have a question. I want to make a comment.
Anyone else, any questions? At this time, I'll take your comment, Bob.
Well, I guess what I'm really concerned about is I've listened carefully to the people from this neighborhood and what they've been saying. I have a great deal of respect for Bill Curran, who has worked tirelessly for the last number of decades at making Hamilton a better place. And when he pointed out the problems that you have when you put these units on the ground floor and they're insufficient units, it really rang a bell with me. I think it makes a lot of sense. And in light of all of that, I am prepared to move that we deny this application for these variances.
Okay, is there anyone else on the committee? I'll give Ken a chance to speak. Okay, Ken?
Okay, so I appreciate everybody's comments. And, you know, I respect Bill and his work as an architect in the city, and we all want to create nice buildings and nice spaces for people to live. I do, though, for the record, want to correct some of the things that Bill did say, and I do this out of respect. So like I said, we already have an approved building permit for the 12 units. So we do meet all of the minimum building code requirements. We have HVAC and mechanical designs for those units. So they do meet all of the heating and cooling requirements, ventilation, air conditioning, all of that. He's mistaken that the second and third floor units only have access via the rear fire escape. There is common corridors that are accessed directly from the street up to those units. And we meet all of the zoning requirements that the city has laid out for those units. When it comes to, you know, parking or bicycles and other requirements such as that. So I think it's I take a bit of offense to that, saying that we're not making nice units here. We're making appropriate units for working with the existing building in the area and the space that we have available to work with. Again, when you're trying to redevelop an existing building and add more density in an existing building, there are sacrifices that we have to make sometimes when it comes to unit layouts, amenity space, etc. I just want to apologize to Stephen. So when I read the letter, so he's the building owner. So the individual who confronted me on the street when I was posting the sign must have been the tenant of the furniture store. He was the one who was complaining that he had zero business, was barely able to afford his rent to pay to Stephen. So that is concerning to me, guys. At the end of the day, it's all well and good that we want to have commercial. I would love to see more commercial. The problem is we already have more than enough boarded up vacant commercial on Barton. What we need is more people living down in that area. The ground floor commercial units are appropriate size. They're bigger than the second and third floor units, one of them being over 1,100 square feet in size. The smallest one being like just under 600. So like they are appropriate sized units. And what this will do is bring people down there. And that's what we need. We don't need more vacant commercial. We need more people living down there. So that's, you guys have heard all the arguments. I'm asking that this committee approve this application. This building owner, the new building owner, is bringing a significant amount of investment to clean up this building. Please don't take what the previous owners of this building have done over the years. That is not us. That's not our company. That's not this new building owner. They want to clean up this building. They want to make it a nice, vibrant building again. And we're going to clean up the facade and we're going to make it look nice and pretty. And anyways, that's the application, guys. And I hope that you approve it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nancy, just clear, did you make a motion? No. Okay. So I will accept, Bob, you made a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll accept your motion for denial. Is there a seconder? Melvin?
Yes, I'll second it.
All in favor of denial of the application?
Here, here.
Opposed?
I have one opposed.
Yes. Motion's carried, application is denied.
Thank you.
All right, so we are all set for the next file. So we are hearing HMA 22198 for 115 Roxborough Avenue in Hamilton. We have the owner registered to speak and one agent or interested party for the owner.
Is the owner? Turn your mic on.
Yes, I am present.
Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, we did.
And do you have any questions?
No.
Sorry, can you state your name for the record? We have
My
two
name-
owners registered on.
Yes, my name is Giovanni Buda.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And then we just had his, I believe it's an agent for you. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. She is the mortgagee for me being an owner.
Did you have any questions or?
No.
Okay. Committee?
Sorry.
Finance.
Move it for approval?
Seconded by Laverne. All in favor?
Here.
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion is carried, application is approved.
All right, thank you. No problem, thank you.
All right, Bob, could you confirm, could you hear Dale when, was he speaking? Okay, perfect, thank you, sorry.
Motion by Nancy, seconded by Laverne. Yes.
All right, we're all set for the next file, so we're hearing HMA 22200 for 2 Rutherford Avenue in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Afternoon, committee. My name is Matthew Rebo from Perspective Views, representing the owners.
Yes. Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Just about to say that, yes, I do, and I don't have any comments or concerns.
Okay, does the committee have any questions? Motion moved by Laverne, seconded by Mal. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Okay, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you, committee. Have a great afternoon.
Okay, and we're all set for the next file. We're hearing HMA 22186 for 8 Lincoln Street in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak. Oh, and hold on. And no interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
I am.
Yes, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
I did.
And do you have any questions?
I don't. Actually, I do. I'm sorry, I apologize. It's more of a comment than a question, to be honest with you. It's about the archaeological area there. So do I have to get an archaeological assessment on the property at all?
So that was a note on the file, so if you do discover anything during the course of your construction, you will need to notify as appropriate. And then if you so choose to get an archaeological, that is obviously always welcome in areas where there may be archaeological concern, but it was not listed as a condition on your file.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't have any questions, actually.
Okay, committee have any questions or a motion? Move it, Margaret. Seconder. Tom. All in favor?
Here.
Opposed?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys.
Okay, and we are all set for the next file. So we are hearing HMA 22178 for 157 Robinson Street in Hamilton. We have the owners registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the owner available?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
So you'll,
all right.
please make sure that you're unmuted so that you can speak. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay. Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
we did, yes.
Okay. The only question I have, or to make you aware, under zoning, they have no floor plan, and so if
Correct.
there's more than 8 habitable rooms, then there could be a parking issue.
There is existing parking on the property currently, so so I think we wouldn't be in conflict with that.
Okay, just be aware that
Sure.
if that triggers it, you might have to come back like another minor variance, so.
So in order to, like, is there opportunity to provide proof of existing parking on the property in that case?
Yeah, like, it doesn't flag by planning, but it's flagged under the zoning. So planning has no concerns.
Sure.
It's just that when you submit your plans, I'm guessing that it may flag that if you have more than 8 habitable rooms.
I understand.
You need two parking spots for the first habitable rooms.
Right.
So if you have more than 8 habitable rooms, then it's half a parking spot.
Oh, yeah, we have 3 spots and less than 8 rooms, so we're,
Yeah.
but just to clarify then, we should make sure that's documented when we submit the blueprints.
On our
Yes,
plans?
Yes, okay,
Okay.
thank you. Yep, will
That's
do.
helpful. Thank you.
Okay?
Yep.
Committee have any questions? No? Concern? Motion?
I have Nancy wishing to speak.
No.
No?
Come on.
Can you unmute Nancy? Okay, Nancy.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so we have Nancy with a motion to approve, and we have Laverne seconding. I'm sorry, the microphones aren't.
All in favor?
Here, here.
Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Maybe when their mic's on, ours can't go on?
Can you try your microphone again?
It's all right now.
We're all good. Can you
And those
speak?
are
I can
off.
speak. No?
I'm wondering if those ones are on, if yours won't.
No, they're different designations. For those. Okay.
All right. Melbourne.
Yeah. All right, so we're all set for the next file. So we're hearing HMA 22185 for 52 Melbourne Street in Hamilton. We have the owner registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the owner available? Okay.
So you'll just need to sit down, please, and unmute your microphone.
Is that good? Okay.
Do you have any, did you read the comments that were posted?
I just asked, they said there wasn't any posted. I just asked, is there any?
Yeah, so there were comments posted, so in the email with the information about the hearing, it was
Okay.
posted, and on the website, it was posted as well.
Okay.
So planning is recommending, well, they say they have no concerns, which means they don't have a problem. The only question I have is, and I'm sorry you don't have maybe the paperwork in front of you, but under zoning, they talk about a building permit is required for the construction of the proposed above-ground pool. And then the next comment is, be advised the requested variances have been reviewed for the proposed above-ground pool as requested in a minor variance application as per building permit 221222080. A permit for an in-ground pool is currently under review. So
No in-ground pool, just a small above-ground pool. And I was told that I needed the variance because my property goes onto Hill Street, so they said I have 2 front yards instead of like a backyard, which I have, like, to me, it's my backyard, right? It's completely fenced and meets all the requirements for the above-ground pool.
Okay, committee?
Move it.
I'll move it.
Second it.
I'll second it, Mark.
Okay, Mark, did you have a question? No, okay, Mark, then Mel, all in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you for letting me have my swimming pool. Maybe, get to open it, sir. Thank you. Good. Well, thanks to see everyone again, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're all set for the next file. We're hearing HMB 2257 for 270 Longwood Road South in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, I am. Franz Clyde Beaufort, AJ Clark and Associates, sir.
Yes, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
I have read the comments. I'm very supportive of staff's recommendation to approve. I do have one concern regarding condition number 3. Specifically, that condition is requiring an administration fee payable to the City of Hamilton to cover the costs of setting up a new tax account for the newly created lot. This is not an application for severance. This is an application for consent to lease a portion of a lot in excess of 21 years as required by the Planning Act. In fact, we are not creating a lot, and I would request that condition number 3 be removed on that basis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That condition was added in error by staff, and we're happy to have it removed.
Okay, committee.
But it was $25 anyway, so it wasn't life or death.
Motion for approval, removing that number.
Number 3. Okay, Nancy and Laverne, all in favor?
Here, here.
Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you very much.
Haven't seen him for a while.
All right, and we're all set for the next file. We're hearing HMA 22190 for 330 Dundurn Street South in Hamilton. We have the agents registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, Celine Zaire from SRM Architects.
Yes, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
We did, and we just had one clarification about variance 1. It mentions 21 meters of a maximum building height. That is to be the maximum of before the step. Is that correct? Because the building will be 28 meters.
I believe this is referring to planning's comments, or is this referring to the notice as was circulated?
The planning comment.
I believe it's also written in the notice that was circulated as a maximum building height of 21 meters shall be permitted instead of the maximum permitted building height of 18 meters.
Yes, it's just that the building has always been, it's always been an 8-story building with a maximum of 28 meters. The 21 we think is coming from where we must start to step the building back at the north property line. They have a couple of, in the other variances, they mentioned those. I just wanted to clarify to make sure that was correct and that the 28 is what we're asking for the maximum building height.
Mr. Chair, that would be a comment that was, that was written up in the notice that was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. So the agent would have had this information from several weeks ago, and the appropriate staff comment would be from zoning. They are not currently on the call.
Okay. So the building height is 28 meters?
Yes, and it has always been 28 meters.
So how do we handle that?
Mr. Chairman, you could ask if they would wish to table to get this clarified with that, or we could proceed. Obviously, the committee are able to make decisions as they see fit, so it's up to the committee how they wish to proceed with the application.
Okay. You heard the comments. Does the committee wish to proceed with that, or do you want to table and have it reviewed again? Melvin?
I think it's a big difference in from 21 to 28, so I think they should get this straightened out and bring it back to the
Okay.
table. And
So
that's my opinion, anyway.
I think maybe our recommendation might be to table this so that you can get that number verified and sorted out.
Okay.
So we have one more statement here.
Is this a big enough change, do we think, that it needs to be recirculated to the community? Because then everybody would have
6
got
meters, that's 18 feet.
7 meters.
The drawings have always indicated 28 meters.
Yeah.
And
And I'm
8
just,
stories.
so I guess we're just wondering, you know, the circulation, if it said 21 and it's actually 28, whether there'd be any other concerns from neighbors because of the 8 meters more. So I think our recommendation is to table and just to make sure that that is sorted out and the right comments come from planning.
Okay.
Are you okay with tabling?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll move to table then.
Okay, Melvin, seconder. Margaret, all in favor of table? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried, application is tabled.
For the agent, please contact the Committee of Adjustment offices, so c@hamilton.ca for further information about your file.
Okay, thank you.
Great, and we are all set for the next file. So we're hearing HMA 22193 for 46 McDonald Avenue in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, I am here. David Carruthers from Carruthers and Associates.
Okay, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, I have.
Do you have any questions?
For the comments at this time.
Okay. Committee, any questions? Under zoning, no parking shall be provided on the site. Is this an area in Hamilton that doesn't require parking?
It does require parking 2 spaces. We're asking for a variance of 0. That's because the existing spaces, we don't have the space on the property.
Okay, so it's an existing situation?
Yes.
Sorry, Nancy, are you wishing to speak?
Staff had no concerns with it, so I'm okay to move it.
Okay. It's a motion to accept by Nancy, seconded by?
And sorry, that was as amended by zoning. They did have some
Yes.
amendments.
Yes. With that.
That's, I believe that's what Dale was referring to. I just wanted to make sure. Perfect. Thank you. So that was a motion by
Nancy, then
Nancy
Melvin?
and Melvin. Thank
All in
you.
favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
Great, and we are all set for the next file. So we're hearing HMA, oh, sorry, lost my place. HMA 22194 for 72 Stanley Avenue in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
That's me, I'm here. It's Pete from Park 8.
Yes, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
I did, and I'm in agreement to support staff position.
Okay. Committee have any questions? I see planning has no concerns with the parking. Again, I don't know whether this is an area that requires no parking in Hamilton or not. Doesn't seem to be a concern for planning, so. Committee have any concerns about that or? Okay.
Move for approval.
Seconded.
Okay, Nancy, then Mark.
Okay.
All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And we're all set for the next items. We're hearing HMA 22196 for 120 Platt Avenue in Hamilton. We have the agent and owners registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
I believe they have called in. So please unmute yourself by pressing either *6 or *9. You are the agent or owner for 120 Platt Avenue.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you'll just want to speak a little bit closer to your microphone. You're just a little bit soft.
Hi, this is Katie. I'm the owner.
Okay, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
I did.
And do you have any questions?
I do not.
Committee have any questions?
Move it.
Second.
By Mark, seconded by Laverne. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
And we're all set for the next file. So we're hearing HMA 2275 for 208 Locke Street in Hamilton. We have the agent and owner registered to speak, as well as several interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So
At either
please-
mic there, right at the end?
Yeah, so please proceed, and then you'll provide your comments, and so just make sure that you're unmuted while you're speaking.
Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, I did.
Okay, just.
Which one is,
The one that looks like a person speaking.
Yes, I did.
Okay, you have questions, concerns?
I just like to maybe offer some clarity on what we're asking for. When the sign was posted on the front of the West Town, which is at 210 Locke Street, a lot of passerbys and customers thought that we were putting another patio in. And I just want to clarify, this is for the existing patio that was built during the pandemic at 208. So this is still a permitted patio right now under those temporary measures, and it could carry on again all the way, I believe it's 225 now. But we're looking to make it a permanent part of the West Town. So when we originally put the patio in, it was on 208, but 208 was merged because of common ownership with 210 and 214. And by means of that merger, 208 no longer has frontage. It's considered side to 210. So by being a side yard, the part of the bylaw that permits a patio without a variance would require that we have a front yard and back onto the alley. So because we're now considered a side yard is the reason we're asking for the variance now, is so that we can conform. The owners have gone a long ways to making this patio, it's quite an outstanding patio with nice landscaping and trees. It's now into its third year, I guess, starting this right now. Been well received by families, dogs, kids, and it's been a real help to allowing West Town to get back on its feet after the pandemic and the year they were closed for the Locke Street infrastructure. So this is why we're here. This is part of a site plan application. So we're going through the whole process on this. So hopefully that kind of provides some clarity.
Okay. We have a list of.
Yes. So we'll hear from the next interested party. So we'll hear from Emily Baines. So yeah, please proceed, and then you'll just need to unmute yourself to speak.
Good afternoon. Am I on? Okay. So I'm a neighbor of the West Town, just off of Fanning Street, which is at the rear of the property. I wrote in some written comments as well, but I just wanted to come in person and echo the concerns that I have about the noise that will be generated by this patio. I think that going from a capacity of 0 to a capacity of 115 is a massive escalation. In the time that the temporary patio that was allowed to be put up during the pandemic has been in place, we have had several issues with noise already, leading to formal complaints to bylaw and HPS outside of bylaw operating hours. And the response has really been one that demonstrates a total lack of regard for the neighbors who live nearby, which are largely seniors, people with young children, et cetera. Basically the response has been when authorities have come to ask them to turn down the loud PA systems they had set up without a noise exemption permit as they're required to do, the music will go off for 10, 15, 20 minutes till authorities have left, and it comes right back on again. So we had to make repeated calls, and this was a number of occasions, including most recently, I believe, was St. Patrick's Day, which was a Thursday, just for some context. I guess in summary, I think that the capacity in this location and the proximity to residential areas is very inappropriate, and there's really no precedent for something of that scale on the street. Those are my primary concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll hear from the next interested party, Jean Taylor.
I live in the middle of the properties that Joe owns. Right side of my house, left side of my house, the back of my house. We have a history of his bad behavior with me. I lived in fear till some of the city come with his behavior. I don't feel secure in my own home because he does not keep his word. I bought that house in 1970. I raised 2 children in that house. I was a single parent. When I bought my home, I couldn't buy a better home because ladies were not allowed to pay for a mortgage, buy a mortgage. You had to buy a mortgage that somebody else already owned. Now I'm in my retirement. I have grandchildren, I have great-grandchildren. I want to know that where I live and where I'm going to stay until I croak is going to be a safe area. I like seeing small children in the area. I like seeing happy people. I do not like seeing West Town, and when he gets this permit, it'll be Party City. It was Party City with his restaurant. I tried, he doesn't plan or come to the city for permission first. The horse is always before the cart, the cart is always before the horse. That place he built for temporary through COVID, I had no problem with. What he's after now, yes, definitely. There is no parking in that area at all. For 115 people, there is another patio on the corner. They're quiet. We don't hear nothing from them. There are people across the road with patios for a few people. We don't need another big patio run by the same person who owns West Town. I have been sworn at by them. I've been chased across the street by their son calling me a crackle. And I don't take drugs at all. No, I don't want them. I fear having that place there permanently. And I'm 80 now. I don't know how much time I'm going to be there, but I have a garden. I have my pleasure in my backyard. My pleasure would go from here to the end, and then we got West Town. I don't know how you feel about living in that kind of atmosphere, or would you like your parents retired in that kind of atmosphere? So I am against a permanent patio. Dead set permanent. There's no what property he has, he's got it filled up with junk. I look at the fence, I see restaurant stuff not working on the side of me. And the other garage that he owns on the other side of that, you don't park in, so I don't know where he's gonna get the parking space. Parking space he has was for West Town. The patio is all new parking spaces he wants. And if I sound angry about it, it's because I am. I worked hard to get what I had. I've never asked the government for nothing. I didn't ask nobody to raise my kids. I was raised in foster care, and I planned on giving my kids and family stability. And you don't get stability with the West Town Bar. The police have been called there numerous times. He doesn't use permits. He never used permits when he started to build the corner bar. And you know it. So I'm asking, please don't make that place permanent. We have patios on both corners. We don't need one in the middle. The ones on the corners of that street are well-mannered and quiet. West Town, I don't expect that. When the kids are back at university, I'm looking forward to seeing another party town central. And he does that by playing the loud music to get him in there. St. Patrick's Day, he had his loud music going. No permit. No music permit. I don't deserve that.
Okay, thank you. And we'll hear from Ivan Jembrowicz next.
Good afternoon. I'm not sure I have a whole lot more to offer other than somewhat echoing some of the concerns of both Emily and Jean, and maybe drawing a little bit more light on things. St. Patrick's Day this past year, I walked over due to the loud noise due to the PA system running without permit to ask the owner, Joe, for the permit, which I'm, as a homeowner in the area, allowed to see, and the audiologist report, to which he replied, I don't think the music's that loud. Why don't you sit down and have a beer? I said, no, Joe, I don't want a beer. I want to sit in my backyard and have a glass of wine without my windows rattling. I was met with a bunch of expletives and told to leave his patio and go F myself, basically. And this is the kind of neighbor he is. None of us in the neighborhood, there's more of us, but none of us feel that this is an appropriate patio. We didn't move in next to Hess Village, and I don't understand why he can't have a temporary patio in the summer like many of the other establishments on the street have. He's tried to build this patio before illegally. He's been stopped before. He's had to build a fence for Jean, which he was required to put a gate on. I took 10 screws out of the gate to open it so that she could actually get to the back of her property, because the guys that he had built it went ahead and screwed it all shut. I don't think this is appropriate, and I'm strongly against it as well. Again, I didn't move in next to Hess Village or Augusta Street. This isn't that type of neighborhood. Everybody else has to be quiet, and I think he should too. We all knew that this was coming weeks after the announcement was made that there were going to be temporary patios allowed. Massive construction started on this beautiful patio that you mentioned. It easily cost him $120,000 in stone and landscaping. We all knew that this day was coming, that he was going to try to make it legitimate. We've had our problems and it's not even legitimate yet. So I really strongly beg you guys not to allow this to become legitimate and to force him to take his patio apart on November 1st, like everybody else that has a temporary patio due to COVID. Thank you. Melbourne.
And that's all the interested parties we have registered to speak.
Okay. Committee. Laverne?
A couple of questions.
Sorry. You'll just need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Nancy. She got mine working, she couldn't even operate her own. I drove by the, what I think was the patio in question. And I wanted to get out and take a walk over and ask a couple of questions, but I could not find a place to park my vehicle. And an additional comment that I'll just throw in here. My daughter worked at the Regency Health Clinic and she couldn't find a place to park her car, and that was one of the reasons that she quit working there and she left the area. So is this patio between 206 and 208?
This patio is 208, so it's between 206 and 210.
So I saw 206.
Yeah, so 206.
On the west side of the street, and before I got to it, there's a patio, and at 11:30 this morning, just driving by, and I went by twice, like, you can't even park your car there. I don't know how people are going to get in there and be patrons. I thought it was an established patio, but that's the one that's a temporary patio because of COVID. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when I looked in there, just a guess, I see maybe 25 people in there. And the place looked like there was quite a few people there then. If you were to put 115 people in that area, I think it would be a bit extreme. 50 people in there, I think it'd be full. My other question is, we've heard comments about noise and so on and so forth. And a couple of years ago, we had a similar situation where somebody wanted to put a patio, an outdoor thing down on the bayfront. And there was speakers and so on and so forth. And people were concerned about noise. And they said it would resonate across the water and so on and so forth. But I'm hearing that neighbors are concerned about noise here. Is there outdoor speakers? Is there music on this patio?
So there is one speaker, basically a radio. So yeah, there is music. The day in question, St. Patrick's Day, there was two guys, one with the fiddle and one with the guitar. And it was amplified. So that was the day in question, was St. Patty's Day. But again, these noise issues in that are dealt with through bylaw. Whether it's an existing patio or proposed one, it's the job of bylaw to deal with these on a nuisance complaint type basis. And generally that is how most restaurants, and whether they're in the village or elsewhere, have to deal with these. This restaurant has been there and it's open at 7 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. They do as much at breakfast than they do at night. I think it's going on 35, 36 years now. There is not a history of fines being levied against this establishment. They are big promoters of the Lock Street Festival. And when that festival is on, they have pulled all the permits to have the bands and the music. So, I mean, I don't want to go tit for tat with the neighbors on things, but a restaurant being there for that length of time is almost unheard of.
But that was all inside. This is one of the-
Sorry, Thomas, you'll need to unmute yourself if you wish to speak. Yes.
The number that we're talking about right now is the 115 is set by the architect that does the site plan approval, and it's based on the square footage, and that based on the square footage, that's what the capacity is, set by an architect based on square footage. The patio right now with the seating that's there has been there since they opened it up. So that's the level of occupation that they have on a regular basis. I watch it every day on video on Instagram. It's a lot of families, a lot of children in there. It doesn't have a nightlife like Hess Village. The average age is my age in there. We're not young kids.
I think what I'm hearing from a couple of the residents, especially the one lady who spoke, is that there is a couple of other outdoor patios in the area, and she doesn't have a problem with them because they obviously keep the noise level down, and that seems to be the biggest concern here is the noise level and the activity that's going on in the patio. I'm not opposed to outdoor patios, but I'm opposed to outdoor patios that are noisy and aggravate the neighbors. And for that reason, I have difficulty voting for some of these things because I'm sure I wouldn't want an outdoor patio beside my house if I was trying to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night. And furthermore, if I wanted to sit on the deck out at the back of my home, I wouldn't want to have to listen to some music like I had to listen to 2 weeks ago from the people that are down the road 585 feet. So that's the end of my comments.
Okay, anyone else on the committee?
Well, yeah. As I said, I'm familiar with the West Town. In fact, I've been a customer, patron, but up to now, everything's been inside. And that's certainly, and I know there've been complaints from the neighbors about other things, but even when there was an inside operation. But I agree that it's the noise issue. I don't know whether we have the authority to say, all right, you can have your patio, but no entertainment or speakers. If that were the case, I'd be a lot more favorable to voting for it, because to say, well, it only makes sense to have speakers and whatever out there, just means, yeah, we want Party Central. And that's what the neighbors seem to be concerned about. The reason, seems to me, the reason the bylaw allows patios at the front of these restaurants is because then you've got a buffer. You've got the restaurant between the patio and the neighbors. To have the patio at the side like this gets around the reason for the bylaw and does create a real problem. I don't know, can planning tell me, can we put a limit on the approvals so far as the, yes, you can have a patio but no entertainment?
Can I speak to that?
Sorry?
Can I speak to that? You'll notice on the site plan drawing that you were provided, when we were going through the site plan process, the planning department made us put on a label on the site plan. And
I thought I saw something somewhere.
So it's written, it's on the site plan. See this little box right here?
Sorry, you can't make presentations. You can only refer to documents that were in the comments package or the notices.
Oh, but this is part of it. This is the application
package. Okay, then you'll need to state what was in the comments package and the, so that all those who are attending virtually are able to otherwise be.
Fair enough. So the codicil that the planning department makes you put on, and that's how the patio gets permitted. It gets permitted conditionally with the outdoor patio shall not be used for commercial entertainment, commercial recreation, including live and recorded music dance facilities. So that gets stamped right onto the application, and that's what the permit is based on. That's common with every patio out there. The other two patios that have been referenced today are corner lots, and those patios are directly across from residential buildings as well. The only difference being that they're on property that belongs to the city of Hamilton versus this being on private property. The owners of the West Town had the option of putting patios all across the front on the road. But again, with the earlier comments about parking, that would have just exacerbated our really difficult problem on Locke Street versus them taking up all the parking spaces in front of 208, 210, and 214 with a patio. So we thought this was the better route to go.
So if I may make a comment, I mean, I'm sure we all like to see businesses survive and do well. And you know, I've been to patios and had dinner and lunch outside on a patio, and there's been no music at all, and just people talking. And that suits me quite fine. And I don't know whether, as a committee here, we can make stipulations as to no outdoor amplification or no outdoor speakers at all on this patio, it kind of, I mean, we hear it's a noise issue, is one of the biggest things. And so, like I say, I'm not sure if we have the ability to put that condition on, that no outside amplification at any hour.
Dale, just based on my vast experience, I remember many of these. One on James near Barton at the, I can't remember, the Pier something bar, and I remember Filthy McNasty's up the mountain had the similar situation, and we moved for approval for the patios with the condition that there's no outdoor music of any sort.
Okay. So we do.
So I would make that motion at this time.
I would second that.
Sorry.
I got a question.
Me too.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Nancy, your mic is on, so.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I agreed with Mark. I was waiting for that to come up, and we recently did the same on Corktown, where there was a little bit of an issue. Again, on city property, not on private property. For the neighbors' sake, I hear you. I certainly empathize. I'm not sure, maybe that's why I didn't buy a property near a commercial residence. Nothing wrong with that. But I see shaking of heads when you mention bylaw. I mean, there's been curfews, we've used curfews on those as well too. Curfews of no music past 9 p.m. or something like that. So I don't know, I don't want to know, I'm not asking you, I'm just saying that is a bylaw issue and things like that get out of control. I see lots and lots of pictures of garbage, and Joe and Brad and Brandon need to clean that up. They need to keep that safe and clean for the neighbors as well. And that's something they don't do well either. I also empathize with the fact that Joe and Brandon have often come to the cart before the horse situation. And I do respect, they do run a very long-term business. They've been there a long time. But sometimes they need to be reminded that neighbors do have some respect that they do deserve. So I'll wait and see where the motion goes from here.
So
I've already made the motion.
Mark, your motion again?
For approval for the application with the condition that there be no outdoor music.
Okay.
Or entertainment.
Melvin?
I got a question before you think about it. Is this a temporary legal operation right now?
Yes.
And you're asking for a permanent operation?
Yes. Somebody's not coming on it.
Okay, that's what I want.
Just wait, please.
You're not on. Try again. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. My understanding, talking to zoning, is that this patio could continue the way it is until 2025 without us doing anything.
Okay.
Is there any limitation on it now?
Sorry, Mr. Lofchuk, you need to unmute.
Sorry, any limitation on it now as far as entertainment goes?
I don't believe
Seems
that.
to me the COVID patios were just sort of their patio, period.
I believe you're correct on that. There wasn't a lot of restrictions put on it, and that's why when we go to make it permanent is when the city has the opportunity to put these restrictions on it, as they did going through the site plan process by putting the note on the drawing. And my understanding is the site plan approval process will come forward with that condition on the approval.
Okay, well, my motion has it on now.
Yes, and I second the motion.
Do you have any more questions before? Yes, Laverne.
I just have one question, and I need to get clarity on this before I vote. Is the temporary approval for 115 people?
Yes, it is. That's based on the square footage, and there's a formula that architects use with any restaurant, patio, or facility. They take the square footage and they divide it by a factor, and that's what they get the numbers. I guess if you looked at the drawing submitted with the application before, you could count chairs. I don't think it hits 115, but that's what the patio would be licensed for.
So since you've had temporary approval for 115 people, have you ever seen 115 people in there? Because in my mind, if you put 115 people in there as opposed to 50 people, you're gonna get a great deal more racket out of 115 than you're out of 50. So I think there should be a limit put on the number of people, and I think 115 is excessive.
Thank you. We do also have Bob wishing to speak as well.
Bob?
Under the current arrangement, are they allowed to have sound on the patio?
Again, I believe it kind of falls under the restaurant licensing, where any amplified music at all is subject to enforcement by bylaw if it's a nuisance. It'd be the same if the restaurant had their windows open and they were playing loud music and a neighbor objected to it, it would be a bylaw issue.
Yeah,
So the answer is no, and they've done it, but now
That's right.
It's going to be, yeah.
That's my only concern in approving this. It does lock them in to a situation where they can now have the patio, but they may very well flaunt whatever we say. So the question is, do we approve giving them the variance?
That applies to any place for anything. I
Yeah,
still
but
stand with my
it's-
motion for approval with no outdoor music or speakers.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so there is a motion on the floor.
Okay. No more questions, no more concerns. Seconder on that motion was Nancy. All in favor of the motion? Opposed?
1, 2, 3 opposed, and sorry, Margaret, did you vote?
I did. Or.
Okay, okay, so. Okay, so then I have 3 opposed.
3 opposed and 4. How many 4? What's our number today? Bob, what did you vote?
4.
I'm opposed.
And I have, yeah, so Bob is opposed, so, okay, so we have 4 for the motion for approval with a condition for no outdoor music or speakers on the patio, and we have 3 opposed.
3 opposed? Okay, so then the motion is carried.
They approved it with a condition that you can't have any music of any kind.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry that was so difficult.
We're not focused on that. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, guys, I got to check out. I've got 3 appointments in the waiting room there.
Okay, Mark, thanks.
See you. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Okay, we're all set for the next file, so we're hearing FLA 22182 for 17 William Street in Flamborough. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
I'm the homeowner.
Is the agent available?
Hi, I'm the homeowner, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Are you speaking or is the agent speaking on your behalf?
I'm speaking, my apology.
Okay. Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
I did, yes, thank you for that, and we have no concerns. We'll make sure that we meet your comments.
Does the committee have any questions?
I have Margaret.
Push your button there.
Yes, this is, there is a comment from Conservation Halton. They are requesting deferral of this. I think that there are compliance issues that they want dealt with ahead of time. So they're asking for deferral until they can get those sorted out.
Which department, Margaret?
It's Conservation Halton.
Conservation Halton.
It says that they've approved the application previously, but it's changed, so they want to review it again. Oh. So How does the applicant feel about deferral for discussions with Conservation Halton
Yeah, how long would it be deferred for?
until you get it sorted out? Well, and then it would have to come back.
I think I met with the compliance officer on last week. He is away this entire week and then has let me know that Monday I'll be receiving paperwork and we should be sorted by Monday. So can we table this to the next meeting on the 28th?
Yeah, so at the discretion of the committee members, that is also possible. There was also a proposed condition, so that is also possible as well. It's at the discretion of the committee members what they choose to do, if they choose to defer it or if they choose to proceed.
Margaret, would you like?
If I may,
motion to table?
could we continue with a condition, like approval with condition?
Or, yeah, you can make a motion that condition be satisfied with Conservation Halton.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so the proposed wording that was written on the comments package was that prior to the initiation of works, a permit revision be obtained from Conservation Halton for the proposed development. That sufficient, or does committee have amendments to that?
I mean, that's what Conservation Halton's wishing, right, is a permit? Or,
They want to review the plans again, yes.
Right.
Yeah, that should be okay.
okay, you make that a motion, Margaret?
Yes, a motion for approval with the conditions.
Okay, seconder? Nancy? All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing FLA 22189 for 36 Clapperson Avenue in Hamilton, or sorry, in Flamborough, not in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
You'll just have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You'll just need to make sure you're speaking into your microphone and please state your name for the record.
Perfect. My name is Catherine Rauscher. I'm with MHBC Planning, representing the owners of the site.
Okay, did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
Yes, I did. We have no concerns with staff's report and agree with their recommendation for approval.
Hey, committee, you have any questions?
Move it.
Melvin, seconder. Nancy, all in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
Sorry for the wait.
That's all right. Thank you.
All right, and we're all set for the next file. So we're hearing FLA 22199 for 1186 Highway 6 in Flamborough. We have the agent registered to speak and no other interested parties.
Is the agent available?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the whole team is here.
Yes, sorry to keep you waiting today. We've been waiting for this application since this is the last one for today. Did you have a chance to read the comments that were posted?
We have, Mr. Chairman, and just for the record, it's David Nelson speaking. The rest of the team is here with me.
Okay. Did you have any questions at all or any comments?
We do not, Mr. Chairman. We're in complete agreement with the staff report.
Okay, does the committee have any questions or concerns? Melvin?
Yes, I know the area up there quite well, and I didn't realize there was a building back in there. What manufacturing storage is it back in there? You're using it for?
It is in fact an agricultural use, Mr. Chairman. There are hay bales in the lower section of the barn. The larger piece of the facility will be used for growing microgreens, which is an agricultural crop.
Okay, so I didn't even know there was a building back there, and I was back in there yesterday, and I didn't see anything around there, so just wondered what it was being used for.
Okay, committee members, any other questions? Laverne, turn your mic on.
This was built without a permit, according to our information here.
Yes.
Will a building permit have to be purchased now after it's already been constructed?
I believe so.
Some clarification, Mr. Chairman. We have a valid permit for the larger piece of the building. It's the lean-to section that we're talking about here today, and we need the variance to allow for that reduced side yard on that portion of the building. So we are pursuing that particular permit at the moment, and we are required to appear before you and get the zoning straightened out before we can proceed.
Okay.
So it's fair to say it's easier to get permission than
Always. Anyways.
forgiveness and permission? Forgiveness and permission.
Any other questions or concerns?
Under circumstances, I'll move it.
Okay, moved by Mel, seconded by Laverne.
Sorry, can I just have clarification that that was removed, or sorry, with just variance 2, variance 1 being removed as noted in the planning comments? Thank you.
All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried,
Mr. Chairman.
application approved.
Mr. Chairman, when can I remove the sign?
Sorry, what was the comment?
When can I remove the sign?
So it needs to stay up until the end of the appeal period.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done.
And the last one's been, you have to announce it? Okay.
All right, and just for the record, FLB 2261 was withdrawn and will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman?
Oh, we need a motion for adjournment? Nancy? Oh,
Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us on our first hybrid meeting. And good luck and have a